Chapter 880. Suddenly, 4 dragons appeared in the sky and surrounded the little blue dragon. You want to fight 4 against 1? The little blue dragon glanced at the 4 dragons coldly and let out a deep roar. The black dragon on the ground turned around and stared at Yang Tian coldly. Please stop. All of a sudden, a figure appeared on top of a mountain nearby and said loudly. It was an old man wearing a white robe and holding a red scepter with a dragon's head on it. When the 5 dragons saw the scepter in the old man's hand, the sharp aura they emitted began to weaken. Clan leader. As soon as the old man finished speaking, Bea shouted excitedly and ran over. Whoosh! There was a gust of wind. The old man on the mountain flashed and suddenly appeared in front of Yang Tian. Bea was halfway there when he ran back helplessly. He knelt down in front of the old man and said excitedly, Clan leader, I am back. So this old man was the clan leader of the humans on the island. The old clan leader looked at Bea and said calmly, You are indeed one of us. What is your name? Bea raised his head and answered while suppressing his excitement. My name is Bea. The old clan leader nodded and waved his hand at Bea. Bea chuckled and stood up. The old clan leader no longer paid attention to Bea. Instead, he turned around and looked at Yang Tian and the little blue dragon on Yang Tian's shoulder. He asked with a smile, The talisman formation is destroyed. How did you use the talisman formation to come here? The old clan leader's tone and expression were very amiable. Before Yang Tian could say anything, the excited Bea said, He is proficient in talisman formation and repaired the talisman formation. When he heard Bea's words, a glint of surprise flashed across the old tribe leader's eyes. Soon after, he smiled and nodded. It seems that the 3 people who stayed behind before leaving were unable to completely destroy the symbol array. Yang Tian smiled. Don't worry. The talisman formation that I repaired can only be used once. Now that it is destroyed, there will not be a single talisman left. That's good. The old patriarch smiled. The little blue dragon proudly glanced at the 4 dragons surrounding it. With a swing of its tail, it landed on the ground. Pung! A muffled sound was heard. The little blue dragon felt that the black dragon was taking up space, so it swung its tail and slapped the black dragon to the side. The beast race respected strength, and the dragon race was no exception. The black dragon, who had suffered a loss at the hands of the little blue dragon, knew that he was no match for the little blue dragon. In addition, the old chief was here, so he didn't dare to be presumptuous. He could only look at the little blue dragon with angry eyes and let out a low roar. Boom, 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 boom. The 4 dragons in the sky also descended, causing the ground to tremble. The little blue dragon glanced at the 5 dragons with disdain, then jumped up from the ground and flew toward Yang Tian. During this process, its body quickly shrank. When it landed on Yang Tian's shoulder, it had become a xiaolong that was less than a foot long. After returning to Yang Tian's shoulder, the little blue dragon took out a leaf from the world tree and began to nibble on it. The leaf of the world tree emitted a powerful life force. Sensing the energy from the leaf of the world tree, the 5 dragons couldn't help but be envious. Since you have come to our territory, you are a guest. Please come with me. Glancing at the little blue dragon on Yang Tian's shoulder, the old chief made a gesture of invitation to Yang Tian and said calmly. Yang Tian nodded. We humans have always been friendly with the dragon race, and it has been passed down since a long time ago. This island is dozens of times larger than the source island, and the environment is even better. With the protection of the dragon race, it is only a matter of time before our human race rises in the universe. The old chief explained to Yang Tian as they walked. Yang Tian guessed that the reason the old chief was so polite to him was probably because of his close relationship with the little blue dragon and the fact that the dragon race had helped them. After crossing a mountain, a huge city appeared in front of Yang Tian's eyes. It stretched from the foot of the mountain to the end of Yang Tian's line of sight. The buildings in the city were exquisite, and the layout was neat. It was obvious that they had been carefully arranged. The wide streets of the city were filled with people, and it was very prosperous. Seeing this scene, Bea's eyes widened in shock. This was because the city in front of him was more than 10 times larger than the city on the source island. The old chief stood at the top of the mountain and pointed at the huge city in front of him as he said to Yang Tian, "When our race first arrived, this place was still barren and there weren't many trees on the entire island. After our race migrated here, the entire island quickly changed under our diligent hands. The island was filled with flowers and trees, and houses appeared one after another. Then it became a city, and the population slowly increased. Now, our race has more than 30 million people, which is more than 10 times larger than when we first arrived. We also have millions of warriors, and with the protection of the dragon god, ordinary beasts are no longer a threat to our race." Yang Tian suddenly felt that this old man was talking too much. He didn't know why the old man was telling him all this. Was it because of the little blue dragon? After the old chief finished speaking, he turned to glance at Yang Tian and knew what Yang Tian was thinking. He smiled and said, "I said all this because we are all humans, and it is not easy for humans to survive in the universe. If you are willing, you can join our race at any time." Seeing the anticipation in the old chief's eyes, Yang Tian only smiled. He didn't agree, but he also didn't refuse. The old chief nodded and smiled. The position of chief is always reserved for you. Seeing the chief he respected so politely invite Yang Tian, Bei's expression became gloomy. The chief had never looked him in the eye, and Yang Tian could become the chief as soon as he arrived. Bei knew that this was because he wasn't strong enough and didn't have Yang Tian's ability. As for feelings of jealousy, Bei didn't have any in his heart at all. Yang Tian was simply too powerful and too mysterious to him. After descending the mountain, they entered the city. Seeing the wide and flat streets, the many shops on both sides of the street, the dense crowd, and the noise, Yang Tian's mood was exceptionally good. The old chief led Yang Tian through the city. From time to time, he would glance at Yang Tian and smile. Soon, the old chief led Yang Tian into an inconspicuous pavilion. Bei was sent to stand at the entrance of the pavilion by the old chief. He wasn't allowed to go up. The old chief led Yang Tian into a sealed room in the pavilion. Upon entering, Yang Tian saw 3 middle-aged men in green robes. When Yang Tian entered, the 3 of them immediately stood up and knelt on one knee toward Yang Tian, no, the little blue dragon. The old chief immediately left with a smile and closed the door. The little blue dragon smelled the aura of the dragon clan from the 3 men in green robes. He raised his claws toward the 3 of them. The 3 of them bowed again toward the little blue dragon before standing up. Tomorrow for update. Chapter 881. Yang Tian knew that the dragon clan had strict rules, but it was the first time Yang Tian and the little blue dragon had seen someone kneel down and greet him. This surprised Yang Tian and the little blue dragon. After all, the black dragon from before was taught a lesson by the little blue dragon, and it was still arrogant and unruly. Therefore, after the 3 of them got up, Yang Tian asked with a smile, "The 3 of you don't have to be so courteous, right?" One of the 3 men in green immediately replied, "This is the rule of our green dragon clan. The clan's rules are strict, and those mixed blood dragons outside can't compare to them." Senior ancestral dragon must have been offended by those 5 mixed blood dragons. Later, we'll take their Dragon Balls. The words of this middle-aged man in green were filled with strong, killing intent. Yang Tian frowned. He understood that the dragon clan was not harmonious. Humans were also divided into different races, and the dragon clan was no exception. As long as there were differences between races, there would be conflicts. The senior ancestral dragon, mentioned by the man in green, was naturally referring to the little blue dragon. "No need," Yang Tian said indifferently. Then he asked, "The clan leader arranged for us to be in this secret place, and even used a talisman array to conceal the energy. The 3 of you must have something to say, right?" The middle-aged man in green who had replied earlier nodded immediately. "We would like to invite Senior Ancestral Dragon to return to the Dragon Clan immediately. At this time, our Green Dragon Clan has 1 more Ancestral Dragon and 1 more power." "What's going on?" Yang Tian asked with a frown. Senior ancestral dragon doesn't know? The middle-aged man in green was surprised by Yang Tian's question. Yang Tian smiled bitterly. I've been away for too long. Hearing Yang Tian's words, the eyes of the three men in green dimmed. One of them sighed. Yes, our Green Dragon clan was originally an upper-level dragon clan among the Dragon Clan. But because of their strong combat ability, they were sent to various places in the Sea of Stars to experience the most difficult battles. Because of this, the number of our clan members dwindled and the number of missing clansmen increased. Our battle prowess decreased greatly. In the end, it only has the name of an upper stage, but in reality, it is a supreme stage. At the end of his sentence, the middle-aged man in green clenched his teeth. Now, the ancestor is about to return to the void, and a new ancestor is about to be born. At this critical moment, the chief ordered us to gather our clansmen and return to the sacred domain. Otherwise, when the new patriarch is born, our Azure Dragon race will definitely be classified as an inferior dragon race. After saying that, the middle-aged man in green clenched his fists. Like the other two, his eyes were filled with resentment. Yang Tian and the little blue dragon looked at each other and nodded. Then let's return to the sanctuary immediately. The holy domain mentioned by the green-robed man was naturally the dragon domain that Yang Tian and the little blue dragon had been searching for. From the name, Sacred Domain, it could be seen how powerful the dragon race was in the Sea of Stars. It should be known that the words God and Saint in the Sea of Stars were not used casually. They both represented an incomparably high status. Soon, they would be able to go to the dragon domain. The little blue dragon was extremely excited. The little blue dragon actually did not have much feelings for the dragon race in the Sea of Stars. He only wanted to find his parents. Although he still had many questions in his heart, Yang Tian did not ask anymore. He was afraid that if he asked too much, the other party would see through him. This island was now named the Five Dragon Island. It was jointly owned by the 5 dragon clans of the dragon race and did not belong to the Azure Dragon race. The humans who migrated here were the managers of this island. It was no wonder that the black dragon was dissatisfied when the little blue dragon came here. If it was an Azure Dragon, it would have lowered its arrogant head when it saw the little blue dragon, the ancestor dragon. The dragon race in the Sea of Stars had a very good relationship with humans. This was because dragons naturally liked beautiful objects. The dragon race could not create them themselves, so they needed humans. The weak humans could survive better under the protection of the dragon race. They each took what they needed. Although the 5 Dragon Island did not belong to the Azure Dragon race, the old clan leader did not dare to offend the Azure Dragon race. Therefore, he cooperated and found a secret place. Yang Tian and the little blue dragon arrived just in time. If they came a few days earlier or a few days later, they would have missed the 3 Azure Dragon race members. After a discussion in the secret room, the old clan leader arranged for Yang Tian, the little blue dragon, and the 3 Azure Dragon race members to a teleportation secret room not far from the pavilion. Sorry, the islands outside the Holy Domain welcome humans, but the Holy Domain does not allow them. When the teleportation formation in the secret room to the Dragon Domain was opened, a middle-aged man in green clothes said with an apologetic tone. The little blue dragon's eyes immediately showed extreme dissatisfaction. Just as he was about to flare up, Yang Tian smiled and said, "Who said I'm not a dragon?" After saying that, Yang Tian's body emitted the same dragon aura as the little blue dragon. The little blue dragon had given Yang Tian blood essence many times. More than 80% of Yang Tian's bloodline in his body belonged to the dragon race. Feeling the dragon aura emitted from Yang Tian's body, the 3 Azure Dragon race members opened their eyes wide and were stunned. After a while, one of them said, "We know the reason. It must be that this ancestral dragon senior provided you with the dragon bloodline and even the inheritance. However, you are still a human. Your spirit body cannot be changed." The 3 Azure Dragon race members were not stupid and quickly understood the crux of the matter. Yang Tian nodded and admitted generously, "That's right. I'm still a human in my bones, but I have the dragon bloodline and the inheritance." At least I can be considered half an Azure Dragon Race member. At this time, the Azure Dragon Race is in need of strength. With me, there will be more strength. After Yang Tian finished speaking, the three Azure Dragon Race members looked at each other, and then one of them nodded to Yang Tian. All right. However, when you go to the Holy Region, you have to transform into a dragon during the battle. This is the rule of our dragon race. No problem. Yang Tian smiled. When the blue light disappeared, a dreamlike world appeared in front of Yang Tian and the little blue dragon's eyes. Beautiful mountains were suspended in the air. Exquisite palaces were built on top of the mountains. The mountains were connected by white, arched bridges. A huge waterfall fell from the sky, forming a huge water curtain. All kinds of beautiful birds flew around the mountains, letting out clear and cheerful cries from time to time. This was the most beautiful world Yang Tian had ever seen. Something came up today, and I came back late. Sorry. Explode tomorrow. I'm a dog if I don't explode. Chapter 882. This place is great. Yang Tian looked around and couldn't help but sigh in his heart. He wanted to build a world like this in the future as a permanent residence. Looking at the beautiful scenery in front of him, the little blue dragon's eyes also widened. Ever since leaving the universe, this was the first time the little blue dragon had seen such a beautiful scenery. The three green-clothed middle-aged men seemed to have not returned for a long time. After looking around with infatuation, two of them bowed to Yang Tian and the little blue dragon and left. The remaining person smiled at Yang Tian and the little blue dragon and said, "Seniors, Ancestral Dragon, please follow me." The dragon field was filled with short-distance teleportation glyph arrays. After several teleportations, Yang Tian and the others were led to a registration area. After reporting their names, they each received a green jade tablet with a glyph array engraved on it, as well as a green-clothed servant. The two of them were both humans. One was called Sangyu, and the other was called Xinjia. They were both teenagers, about 15 or 16 years old. After leaving the registration area, the green-clothed middle-aged man's mission was completed. He bid farewell to Yang Tian and the little blue dragon and left. After the green-clothed middle-aged man left, Yang Tian and the little blue dragon couldn't help but sigh in relief. This was because before the dragon left, Yang Tian and the little blue dragon were very worried. They were afraid that the other party would find out that they weren't from the Starseed Dragon race and cause trouble. The two green-clothed youths had long golden hair that was combed very neatly. The green clothes on their bodies were also new. The two of them slightly lowered their heads in front of Yang Tian. They didn't even dare to breathe loudly. They seemed a little nervous. Especially under Yang Tian's gaze, the palms of the two started to sweat. Yang Tian looked at the two of them. He originally wanted to ask some information about the dragon race and some doubts in his heart, but he was afraid of giving himself away. Thus, he decided to clarify the identities of the two green-clothed youths first. It would be bad if something went wrong and they were expelled from the dragon field. Yang Tian pondered for a moment and looked at the young man with a small mole on his lips. He smiled and said, "Sangyu, let's find a place to rest." Sangyu raised her head to look at Yang Tian, then nodded and gestured for Yang Tian to enter. Then, Sangyu led the way while Shinka followed closely behind Yang Tian. The wide street was paved with white jade. Flowers and plants were planted on both sides of the street. At this moment, they were in full bloom. There was a faint floral fragrance in the air. Walking on such a street would make people feel relaxed and happy. After walking for about 5 minutes, Sangyu brought Yang Tian to the entrance of an exquisite two-story building. She said respectfully, "Masters, we have arrived. You can open the door by using the green jade array card. The two of us will live on the first floor, while the two of you will live on the second floor. If you need anything, you can summon us at any time." The building wasn't very big. It took up about 100 square meters and was built with stone and wood. It looked very small and exquisite. Sangyu opened the door after saying that. The first floor had simple furnishings and some of the furniture were old. However, the second floor was different. Not only was it covered with carpets made of animal skin, but the furniture was also new. Not only was there a wide and soft bed, but there were also sofas. Xiaolong, I feel like I'm in a dream. How about you? Yang Tian lay on the sofa and let out a comfortable groan. He stretched and smiled at the little blue dragon. The little blue dragon nodded and jumped in front of the window, curiously looking at the world outside. Yang Tian knew what the little blue dragon was feeling right now. It was both excited and worried. It was excited because it was finally in the territory of the dragon race. It was worried because it wouldn't be able to find its parents here. The Starseed Dragon Field was the little blue dragon's last hope. If it couldn't find its parents here, then it was going to give up. For the little blue dragon, this was going to be a lifelong regret. Sangyu, Xinjia, you two come up. Yang Tian lay on the sofa and thought it through before shouting downstairs. As soon as Yang Tian's voice fell, two young men in green appeared in front of Yang Tian. Sit. Yang Tian stood up and pointed at the two large chairs on the side. The two shook their heads. The young man named Xinjia said, "We can't sit with the master. If the higher-ups find out, we'll be punished. If the master has any orders, he can just tell us directly." The two seemed very reserved. This was a good thing for Yang Tian. After the two young men in green came upstairs, the little blue dragon came back to its senses and returned to Yang Tian's shoulder. It knew that Yang Tian was going to start asking questions. "Xiaolong and I have never been to the dragon field," Yang Tian said calmly. After saying this, he carefully looked at the two young men. Seeing that there was no surprise in their eyes, Yang Tian continued, "So, we're not very familiar with the dragon field. So, we have many questions to ask you." The two nodded. Sangyu said, "We know this. Master, please ask. If we know, we won't hide it." Yang Tian nodded and frowned. Are humans slaves to the dragon race? This was the question that Yang Tian wanted to know the most after Sangyu and Xinjia were assigned to Yang Tian's side. The two young men were very smart. They understood what Yang Tian meant by slaves. The two were silent for a moment. Then Sangyu said, "We understand what master means. In the dragon field, we humans and the dragon race support each other. Of course, the dragon race has a higher status. Here, the dragon race is not allowed to harm us humans as they wish. Otherwise, they will be punished." This was similar to what Yang Tian had guessed. If it were only the dragon race, the dragon field wouldn't have such beautiful buildings and all kinds of glyph arrays. Of course, this didn't mean that the dragon race wasn't intelligent enough. If they were in human form, they could also create beautiful and wonderful things. But would they be willing to spend their time on such things? After Sangyu finished speaking, Yang Tian nodded. He picked up the jade pendant and asked the two, "What is this?" Sangyu answered, "This is a symbol of status for the dragon race. The Azure Dragon race has the Azure Dragon Jade Pendant. The other branches of the dragon race also have this type of jade pendant, but the color is different. In the sanctuary, with this jade pendant, you can enjoy special treatment only available to the dragon race." Sangyu didn't go into detail, but Yang Tian knew that special treatment was probably free food, drink, and housing. What did the azure-robed man you saw earlier do? They're also part of the Azure Dragon race. Why don't they have this type of jade pendant? Yang Tian asked. The three of them were also part of the Azure Dragon race. Since they were Azure Dragons, they were very respectful to the little blue dragon. After returning to the dragon field, they were also very respectful in front of the humans in the management office. This made Yang Tian feel very strange. Xinjia answered, "They are sinful dragons. The dragon ancestor demoted their race. In the sanctuary, their status is even lower than that of human nobles. However, they still have a chance to redeem themselves. For example, during the dragon ancestors' return to the void, as long as they can find enough members of their race to return and strengthen their race, they will be pardoned. 3 more chapters. I'll sleep after I finish writing." Chapter 883. After that, Yang Tian asked many more questions about the dragon field. The dragon ancestors' return to the void was actually referring to the dragon king's impending death. To the dragon race, this was a big deal. The lifespan of a dragon was very long. In the history of the Starseed Dragon Field, this was the fourth time this had happened. The current dragon ancestor had ruled the dragon race for less than half the time of the previous dragon ancestor. The reason why he died so quickly was that he had injured his vitality a long time ago when he was fighting for the position of ancestral dragon. After the establishment of the dragon field, a rule was formed when the first ancestral dragon returned to the void. That was, only the strongest dragon among the 9 branches of the dragon race could become the ancestral dragon. The dragon field had a total of 9 branches of the dragon race, which were divided into 3 ranks. Currently, the upper dragons were the Golden Dragon Clan, Purple Dragon Clan, and Green Dragon Clan. The middle dragons were the Black Dragon Clan, Blue Dragon Clan, and Red Dragon Clan. The lower dragons were the White Dragon Clan, Green Dragon Clan, and Yellow Dragon Clan. Among the 9 branches of the dragon race, the Golden Dragon race was a special existence. Any color of the dragon race could produce a golden dragon. Even if this race only had 1 golden dragon, it was still an upper-level dragon race. As for the other 8 dragon races, their ranks were determined according to the race's combat strength ranking. In the dragon race, the higher the rank, the higher the status in the dragon race, and the more cultivation resources one could obtain. Therefore, every time the dragon ancestor returned to the void, it was a time for the 8 dragon races to shuffle their ranks. For example, during the reign of the previous dragon ancestor, the upper-level dragon race was the Golden Dragon race, Green Dragon race, and Red Dragon race. After the previous dragon ancestor returned to the void, the rankings of the Purple Dragon race and Red Dragon race were adjusted. It could also be said that the Purple Dragon race had taken back the upper ranks. In order to obtain a higher status and more cultivation resources, every time the dragon ancestor returned to the void, the dragon race would be in chaos. The dragons scattered in the star sea would be summoned back to the dragon field. Then, each dragon race would choose a certain number of dragons to participate in the assessment. During the assessment process, not only would a new dragon ancestor be born, but it would also determine the next rank of each dragon race. This time, the situation was very unfavorable to the Green Dragon race. That was because the current dragon ancestor was from the Black Dragon race. Back when the ancestor dragon returned to the void, he was injured by the Azure Dragon race. After ascending to the throne, he had been suppressing the Azure Dragon race. For example, powerful enemies would always send out Azure Dragon warriors. When it came to exploring the unknown world, the Azure Dragon was the one that was sent the most. The dragon with the most sin dragons was the Azure Dragon. Under such suppression, the proud Azure Dragons left the dragon field one after another. Now, the Azure Dragon clan was the clan with the least number of dragons in the dragon field. Yang Tian and the Little Blue Dragon were currently at the Green Dragon tribe's encampment. No wonder Yang Tian only saw a few Green Dragon tribesmen on the streets. In the history of the Dragon Tribe, the Azure Dragons had always been the nobles of the Dragon Tribe. They were the Dragon Tribe that produced the most golden dragons, and they were also the Dragon Tribe with the strongest individual combat strength. However, in the current Dragon Field, the overall strength of the Azure Dragon clan could not even compare to the low-level White Dragon clan. This time, after the Dragon Ancestor returned to the Void, the Azure Dragon clan might not even be able to be ranked as a mid-tier dragon, let alone maintain their status as a high-tier dragon. Fortunately, they still had a chance to seize the Dragon Ancestor's position. For the Azure Dragon clan, the situation was very grim. However, the Little Blue Dragon did not care about being a high-tier or low-tier dragon. He only wanted to know about his parents. Yang Tian's question caused Song Yu and Xianjia to ponder for a while. Xianjia said, "The Dragon Tribe has a clan steel. It's an exquisite runic treasure. With a drop of dragon blood, you can find information about your ancestors. It's the most precious treasure of the Dragon Clan, and also the symbol of the Dragon Ancestor status. However, it consumes a lot of energy." At this point, Shinka scratched his head. Song Yu added, "The clan steel recognizes a master, and only the Dragon Ancestor can use it. The current Dragon Ancestor is about to return to the Void, so he definitely can't use the steel's ability. In fact, even if he could, the dragon ancestor would not agree. The dragon ancestor has always disliked the Azure Dragon clan. After Tsangyu finished speaking, Xinji added, "It consumes a lot of energy, but can tell whether the dragon you're looking for is alive or dead. Even if it's dead, you can still find its skeleton." That was troublesome. The little blue dragon had never seen his parents before, so he wasn't familiar with their aura. It would be very difficult to find them just by feeling. Although the Azure Dragon clan was small in number when the dragon ancestor returned to the void, that was only in comparison to the other 8 dragon clans. The entire Azure Dragon clan numbered in the millions. Moreover, not all of the Azure Dragons would return to the dragon field. Some of the wandering Azure Dragons had been away for too long and too far, so they couldn't be summoned. In that case, the safest method was to become the dragon ancestor. If he couldn't do it, then he would have to spend a long time looking for clues in the Azure Dragon clan and slowly investigate. Yang Tian asked about the dragon ancestor's return to the void, the selection process, and so on. Then he waved his hand, dismissing Tsangyu and Xinjia. "Xiaolong, are you ready?" After the 2 youths left, Yang Tian looked at the little blue dragon and asked with a smile. The little blue dragon nodded, his eyes filled with determination. To the little blue dragon, doing 2 things in this life was enough. The first was to stay by Yang Tian's side and grow up together. The second was to find his parents. Finding his parents was the little blue dragon's obsession. Perhaps it was because of this that the little blue dragon had never transformed into a human. Compared to other dragons, the little blue dragon's birth was too special. When he opened his eyes, he saw Yang Tian, a human. Therefore, the little blue dragon's emotions mostly came from humans. Because of this, family became the little blue dragon's obsession. If it were other dragons, they probably wouldn't care about finding their parents after such a long time. Yang Tian's preparation had 2 meanings. The first was to become the dragon ancestor, and the second was to slowly search for his parents. "Xiaolong, no matter what, I will always be with you, no matter how long it takes, even if it's my entire life." After saying that, Yang Tian laughed. The little blue dragon also laughed. If this was in the wild, he would definitely roar. The return of the dragon ancestor was a long process. The dragon ancestor knew that he was about to die, so he started this process. The time of this process was uncertain. It could be a few years, or it could be as long as a few decades. Yang Tian hoped that this time would be longer, because the longer it took, the more confident he would be in making the little blue dragon become the dragon ancestor. The return of the dragon ancestor would cause chaos among the dragon clan every time. With the previous few lessons, the dragon territory began to be under full martial law. Other than humans who could move normally, all the dragon clan had to stay in their own territory and were not allowed to enter the territories of other dragon clans. Yang Tian originally wanted to tour the entire dragon territory with the little blue dragon to see how big the dragon territory was. But because of this, it was ruined. Not only that, but now the dragon territory could only be entered and not left. Next, Yang Tian and the others could only wait. Chapter 884. No one knew when the current dragon ancestor would start selecting his successor. Now, all the dragons could only wait. When a large number of Azure Dragons returned from the Azure Dragon tribe's encampment, a strict order was issued. No fighting was allowed. Otherwise, no matter who was right or wrong, they would be disqualified from running for the dragon ancestor and be recorded as a criminal. Disqualifying the dragon ancestor was not a big deal because most dragons knew their limits. They knew that they were not strong enough and did not even have the thought of signing up. However, being recorded as a criminal was very serious. All the dragons in the Azure Dragon tribe knew that the current dragon ancestor would be very happy to approve the list of criminals. In just a few days, Yang Tian had seen a few fights between dragons. Dragons were arrogant and violent creatures. It was very common for them to fight when there was a disagreement. However, these fights would inevitably affect the innocent. Not only did they hurt humans, but they also destroyed many beautiful buildings. If they were not stopped, the Azure Dragon tribe's encampment would probably be turned into ruins before the dragon ancestor selection began. After the strict order was issued, it was finally quiet. Now, outside, whether it was the dragons flying in the sky or walking on the ground in human form, they all avoided each other when they met their own kind. There was no more drama to watch. Yang Tian and the little blue dragon both calmed down. Yang Tian organized the energy of the insect origin world and absorbed more information of the insect tribe's inheritance. The little blue dragon was holding the leaves of the world tree and gnawing on them. The energy of the world tree helped the little blue dragon to absorb the energy of the ball of light in its body. One human and one dragon. The two's strength was increasing at an extremely fast speed. Other than Yang Tian and the little blue dragon, most of the other dragons who returned to the dragon territory and wanted to participate in the competition for the dragon ancestor mostly locked themselves in their houses and cultivated quietly. In the Azure Dragon tribe's encampment, there were occasional energy fluctuations of a breakthrough. In this state of cultivation, time passed very quickly. Unknowingly, according to the Ketla planet's calculation, a year had passed very quickly. When the world outside the window became noisy, Yang Tian and the little blue dragon ended their cultivation. They opened the window and saw that the streets outside were full of dragons. There were also stalls on both sides of the street. Looking at this lively scene, Yang Tian knew that the dragon ancestor's successor selection was about to begin. Yang Tian tied the Azure Dragon Jade tablet to his waist and went downstairs. Due to the lack of manpower, Sang Yu and Xian Jia had already been transferred away. These two people were not real servants. They were just workers who took wages from each other. Before leaving, Yang Tian gave each of them an ordinary beast core, which made them go wild with joy. Although Sang Yu and Shinka had been gone for more than half a year, the attic was still spotless. The array glyphs in the attic would not allow even a speck of dust to enter the room. After opening the door, an even louder noise entered the ears of Yang Tian and the little blue dragon. A high-grade beast core for only 1,000 dragon crystals. Mu Chun personally created a rune treasure for only 500. A full set of materials to refine a high-grade armor for only 5,000 dragon crystals. The encampment of the Azure Dragon had turned into a huge trading market. Looking at the people transformed from the Azure Dragons, hawking their wares, Yang Tian suddenly felt that dragons were no different from humans. No matter which world it was, humans were the race with the strongest assimilation ability. Any race that lived with humans would become no different from humans. Dragon crystals were cut from purple crystals and were very similar to coins. It was a popular currency in the dragon domain and could be directly exchanged for beast cores and pills for cultivation. Yang Tian originally wanted to use beast cores to exchange for some dragon crystals, but after thinking about it, he decided against it. After walking for half a day and looking at all the stalls, he did not find anything of interest. Because of the strict ban on fighting and causing trouble, the dragons walking on the streets and doing business were more polite. Yang Tian walked around and felt a little bored. Just as he was about to return to his residence, an old voice suddenly sounded in the sky. Order. Anyone who holds the Azure Dragon Jade tablet can register to compete for the position of Dragon Ancestor. Anyone who participates will be rewarded with 10,000 crystals. The registration will begin now and will end at night. As soon as the voice fell, all the members of the Azure Dragon tribe became restless. A moment later, the crowd on the streets surged in one direction. In the sky, many huge Azure dragons also flew in the same direction. It's finally begun. Yang Tian stood on the street and muttered to himself with a smile on his face. He had already waited here for more than a year. There were many members of the Azure Dragon tribe who had registered. As long as they held the Azure Dragon Jade tablet, they could register. For the reward of 10,000 dragon crystals, it was good to go through the motions. Yang Tian slowly moved along with the crowd. The registration process was very simple. One just had to use the Azure Dragon Jade tablet to swipe it on a talisman array machine that was similar to a card machine, and the registration process was completed. At the same time, a red dot would light up on the Azure Dragon Jade tablet, indicating that the registration had been completed. After registration, one would also receive a 4-page booklet that was half a palm thick. On it was the description of the participation. After waiting for more than 3 hours, Yang Tian finally arrived at the registration area. There were only a few members of the Azure Dragon tribe behind him. Yang Tian took his little blue dragon jade tablet and swiped it on the talisman array machine. The talisman array on the jade tablet was activated and a red dot lit up in the center. After Yang Tian received the description of the participation, he went straight back to his residence. After more than a year, the strange program had already figured out the talisman array on the Azure Dragon Jade tablet. It wouldn't be a problem even if one were to be forged. Yang Tian waited until the end because he wanted to know the number of participants through the talisman array on the Jade tablet. The territory of the Azure Dragon tribe was vast. Yang Tian had only seen a corner of it in more than a year. There were at least a few hundred registration areas in the entire Azure Dragon territory. The talisman array system was all connected to the internet. After the red dot lit up on the Jade tablet, a number appeared on it. According to this number, one would know the number of Azure Dragons who had registered this time. Yang Tian's number was 378,625. In other words, there were nearly 400,000 Azure Dragons who had registered this time. Other than the Golden Dragon tribe, the Azure Dragon tribe was now the Branch Dragon tribe with the least number of people in the Dragon territory. In that case, the other 7 branches of the Dragon clan would definitely be much more numerous than the Green Dragon clan. Their total number would reach several million. After Yang Tian returned to his residence, he sat on the soft sofa and opened the description. Chapter 885. For this selection, the Azure Dragon tribe is really bleeding. Yang Tian said with a smile after reading the manual at an extremely fast speed. The selection was divided into 2 parts. The first was to choose the Dragon Ancestor's successor. This was a test of individual combat strength. Thinking of the strongest dragon in the Dragon tribe, Yang Tian could not help but think of the destruction of Zhao Ji King's Zhao Ji Island. A dragon claw came down, and the entire island was shattered. In the end, Zhao Ji King had to hide in fear of being hunted down by the Dragon tribe. If there was such a powerful dragon in the Dragon tribe, Yang Tian and the little blue dragon would not have the qualifications to compete at all. Fortunately, the selection process was not simply a test of each dragon's current combat strength. The current dragon ancestor, in other words, the king of the Dragon tribe, still had a very long lifespan, at least a few hundred years, and this selection process would also last for a few hundred years. In such a long time, the Dragon tribe would open many resource-rich mystic realms. If they were lucky, they could obtain the resources in the mystic realms and rapidly improve their realm. In other words, even a newborn dragon could participate in this competition. If they were lucky, it would not be strange for them to grow into the strongest dragon in the Dragon tribe in these few hundred years. To humans, a few hundred years was a long period of time. A dynasty was born and then destroyed. However, to dragons, a few hundred years was just the time for an ordinary human to smoke a cigarette or watch a movie. Because it was a competition for the Dragon tribe's king, the selection process was very cruel. The slightest carelessness could lead to death. If one's combat strength was too low, they would be eliminated in the first round and would be finished before luck came. Also, not all dragons could participate in this competition. This competition had an age limit. The strange program calculated the time for Yang Tian. Only those who were less than 30,000 years old could participate in the competition for the Dragon Ancestor's position. Otherwise, this competition was completely unnecessary. There were many old dragons living in the same era as the Dragon Ancestor. Any one of these elder-level dragons had terrifying combat strength. It was estimated that even 100 little blue dragons combined would not be a match for them. The Beast tribe was different from humans. The Beast tribe wanted to be young and strong. They chose a young king who could live for a long time. This way, the dragon race could maintain a long period of peace. If one old guy died and another old guy came, it wouldn't be long before they had to choose again. The internal strife would exhaust the Dragon clan. There is also a limit to the number of people who could compete for the position of the Dragon Ancestor. There were 300 upper-level dragons, 500 mid-level dragons, and 800 low-level dragons. There were a total of 4,800 slots for the 9 dragon clans. The allocation of the slots was reasonable because the resources that the 3 ranks of the dragon clan received were different. It was only right for the dragon clan, which had obtained fewer resources, to obtain more slots. There were 9 dragon tribes, and the first dragon tribe had a few hundred slots. It seemed like a lot, but the chances of being selected among hundreds of thousands of dragons were very small. The reason why Yang Tian said that the Azure Dragon Clan was bleeding profusely was naturally because the rewards for participating in the Dragon Ancestor competition were very high. As long as one obtained the qualifications to participate in the Dragon Ancestor contest, one could enter the Azure Dragon Realm to cultivate for a period of time. The Azure Dragon Realm was a space constructed with talisman formations. Time flowed 100 times faster than outside, and it provided countless beast cores and pills. Dragons who had entered the Azure Dragon Realm could continuously absorb energy to strengthen themselves during the time they were cultivating in the Azure Dragon Realm until they could no longer contain it. Seeing this, Yang Tian's eyes widened. He was very suspicious of the amount of beast cores and pills stored in the Azure Dragon Realm. This was because there were 2 energy worlds in Yang Tian's body, the original realm and the newly constructed insect origin realm. Even Yang Tian couldn't estimate the energy capacity of these 2 energy worlds. As for the little blue dragon, strictly speaking, it should belong to the Golden Dragon Clan. It was just that it had disguised itself extremely well. The energy world in its body was also boundlessly large. Its capacity for energy was also very large. If Yang Tian and the little blue dragon were placed in the Azure Dragon Realm, would there be any beast cores and pills left in the Azure Dragon Realm in the end? When Yang Tian thought of this, he couldn't help but chuckle. The current dragon ancestor of the Black Dragon Clan had made the Azure Dragon Clan suffer enough. The Azure Dragon Clan was determined to win this competition. Since the Azure Dragon Clan had done this, the other dragon clans naturally wouldn't be willing to be left behind. They would also open the secret realms of their clans. This was because the Black Dragon Clan had used this method in the previous competition for the position of Dragon Ancestor. They had used the resources collected by their entire clan over countless years to create a few powerful black dragons. The Black Dragon Clan had succeeded. In these hundreds of thousands of years, the Black Dragon Clan had also reaped great rewards. Other than the competition for the position of Dragon Ancestor, there was also the competition for the ranking of the dragon clans. This was a competition of group strength. Every dragon from every dragon clan could participate. In the end, the number of dragons that passed the test would determine the dragon clan's ranking. For the Azure Dragon Clan, this situation was quite serious. This was because the ranking test wasn't strict. Most dragons had a chance of passing. The Azure Dragon Clan was currently the dragon clan with the fewest members apart from the Golden Dragon Clan, unless they could increase the difficulty of the test. One had to know that compared to the other dragon clans, the Azure Dragon Clan was second only to the Golden Dragon Clan in terms of individual combat strength. If the difficulty was increased, no matter how many other dragon clans there were, they wouldn't be a match for the Azure Dragon Clan. However, it was obvious that the Azure Dragon Clan couldn't change the difficulty of the test. After closing the instruction manual, Yang Tian and the little blue dragon began to wait quietly. The little blue dragon took out the leaves of the world tree and gnawed on them. Yang Tian took out a large pile of yellow stones and runes and began to carve. For the upcoming competition for the position of Dragon Ancestor, Yang Tian had to start preparing. Some useful rune arrays had to be created. For example, rune arrays that could conceal one's aura and figure, as well as short-distance teleportation rune arrays. These 2 rune arrays needed to be prepared in large quantities. Soon, there was only the sound of the little blue dragon gnawing on the leaves of the world tree left in the room. There was also the rustling sound of Yang Tian carving on the yellow stones with his rune pen. Time passed day by day. Places where intelligent life forms gathered would have a concept of time. The dragon field had time-keeping tools made by humans. Because dragons live for a long time, the shortest unit of time in the dragon field was called the yin hour, which was about half an hour. The unit of time longer than the yin hour was the yuan shi, which was equivalent to more than 3 days on Earth. The unit of time longer than the yuan shi was the mega hour, which was about 1.5 years on Earth. Then there was the yao hour, which was equivalent to more than 20 years on Earth. If one stayed in the dragon field for a long time, it wouldn't be a problem to accept this time system. However, for a wandering cultivator like Yang Tian, it was meaningless. The clock outside rang, and a strange program reported the time for Yang Tian. After signing up, they waited for more than a month. Yang Tian and the little blue dragon's jade tokens finally lit up with red light. Xiaolong, it's starting, Yang Tian said lightly and put a large pile of yellow stones into his storage bracelet. The little blue dragon stuffed the half-eaten leaf of the world tree into its mouth and jumped onto Yang Tian's shoulder. Yang Tian walked to the window and looked outside. At this time, the light outside was much dimmer and blue light was shining everywhere. It was the light of the teleportation rune array. A large number of azure dragons were lining up to enter the array. Yang Tian went downstairs and walked out of the attic to the nearest teleportation array. At this time, all the teleportation arrays in the dragon field were heading to the same place. After waiting for half an hour, Yang Tian finally got on the teleportation array. When the blue light disappeared, what appeared in front of Yang Tian's eyes were all dragons, dragons of various colors. Whether in the sky or on the ground, he couldn't see the end of them. The little blue dragon jumped off Yang Tian's shoulder and turned into an azure dragon more than 10 meters long. Yang Tian stretched his neck before his body rotated and turned into an azure dragon that was the same size as the little azure dragon. After the little blue dragon and Yang Tian finished transforming, they both put their jade tokens in their mouths. From now on, the jade tokens couldn't leave their mouths. If they left their mouths, they would fail. The first round was a test of speed and the strength of their bodies. Millions of dragons were about to fly toward the dot of light ahead. If they wanted to compete for a ranking, they had to fly as fast as they could and knock away all the dragons in front of them. Before it started, the 9 dragon tribes were already on the move. The teleportation was random and chaotic. Those dragons who weren't strong individually, such as the white dragon tribe and the red dragon tribe, had to gather in groups. They would split off a portion to block the other dragons, such as the golden dragon tribe and the azure dragon tribe. At this time, numbers were the advantage. Chapter 886. Rumble. When the time was up, the group of dragons finally moved. Millions of dragons flew in the sky and sped on the ground. The momentum created was as if the sky was collapsing and the earth was collapsing. In just an instant, the dragons around Yang Tian and the little blue dragon turned into colorful phantoms and surged toward the light spot in front of them. The rumbling sound was not only the sound of the dragons trampling on the ground, but also the sound of collisions between them. A dragon with a jade pendant in its mouth could not roar. Once the jade pendant fell out of its mouth, it would be considered a failure. In fact, many weak dragons would be smashed into pieces in an instant once they slowed down. They would not even have the chance to roar. Flesh and blood were constantly sprinkling in the sky. On the ground, there were also blood-colored waves. Yang Tian, who had expected this situation, released a powerful spiritual power and surrounded himself and the little blue dragon. The dragons that passed by them were all bounced to the side by the spiritual power. Those who ran at the front might not be the first to arrive. Under the encirclement of the dragons, they would be passive. When the last dragon passed by Yang Tian and the little blue dragon, Yang Tian and the little blue dragon looked at each other and finally moved. They rushed into the sky and kept flying high. When they rose thousands of meters in the air, they encountered the energy of the talisman array. At this time, they could not go any higher. Yang Tian and the little blue dragon immediately bent down and rushed toward the light spot in front of them. The light spot in front of them was tens of millions of miles away from this area. This was the result of the spatial talisman array. It would take more than 10 to 20 minutes for light to shine from that place to here. The flying speed of dragons could not be compared to the speed of light. The entire process would last at least a few hours. The air was filled with the faint smell of blood. On the ground, all the dragons had left the ground and were flying in the air. One could see broken dragon corpses and all kinds of dragon bones. In just a few seconds, Yang Tian and the little blue dragon had reached an extremely fast speed. Ordinary human eyes could not capture their figures at all. From the ground to several thousand meters in the air, there were many dragons. They were less than 2 meters apart from each other. Flying last doesn't necessarily mean that you'll be the last. Pung, pung, pung. Yang Tian and the little blue dragon finally caught up with the group of dragons. A series of violent crashing sounds were heard. The flying dragons were like arrows that had been shot out. They were densely packed and filled the entire space. As for Yang Tian and the little blue dragon, they were like 2 sharp arrows that struck first. The dragons that Yang Tian and the little blue dragon were in the way of Yang Tian and the little blue dragon's flight path. During this process, there was no lack of dragons that were smashed into pieces by Yang Tian and the little blue dragon. The little blue dragon, who was shuttling through the group of dragons, quickly closed its eyes. The energy in its body turned into a defensive force to protect itself and the driving force to move forward. As the energy was consumed, their speed became faster and faster. Their heads encountered resistance from time to time. Immediately, the resistance was dispersed to the sides. Pung, pung, pung. Sounds kept ringing in their ears. In the central palace of the dragon domain, the dragon ancestor, who was dressed in a black robe, sat on a seat that was dozens of meters high. On both sides of him, there were 2 rows of seats that were lower and arranged in an arc. The patriarchs of the 9 dragon clans and 3 elders wore robes of various colors and sat on these arc-shaped seats. The dozens of dragons that had transformed into humans were all very tall. If they stood up, they would be giants that were at least 10 meters tall. Everyone had an old face, regardless of whether they were men or women. In front of them was a huge light blue ball of light that was more than 10 meters in diameter. The light ball was displaying the situation of the dragon clan's ranking examination. At this moment, one could see from the light blue ball that the examination space was in the shape of a horn. The closer it was to the exit, the smaller the space. At this moment, flying at the front was a square formed by the Black Dragon Clan. The number of Black Dragon Clan participating in this examination reached more than 800,000. More than 800,000 black dragons appeared at the front at the first moment. This was also the result of the dragon ancestors' arrangement. The square formed by the black dragons blocked the way forward. It seemed that no matter how fast the dragons behind flew, they could only pass through the sides of this black square. But if one looked carefully, there was a narrow passage in the middle of this square. Only the black dragons could pass through this passage. The other dragon clans could only go around it from the sides. Otherwise, they could only plunge into the square formed by the Black Dragon Clan. Other than the black dragons, there were also squares formed by the other dragon clans. The only ones that did not were the squares formed by the Golden Dragon Clan and the Green Dragon Clan. This kind of examination was meaningless to the Golden Dragon Clan. Even if they fell last, they were still upper-level dragons. As for the Green Dragon Clan, they flew the fastest. But because there were too few of them, if they used this method to block the other dragon clans, it would be equivalent to giving up on the examination. Before the hundreds of thousands of Black Dragon Clan dragons stopped to form a square formation, only a few thousand green dragons rushed past. These thousands of green dragons also faced obstacles in front. Seeing such a disadvantageous situation, the Green Dragon Clan leader and 3 elders were so angry that they grabbed their chairs until they creaked. Under the protection of the dragon ancestor, it was obvious that the Black Dragon Clan wanted to fight for upper-level dragons. There were only 3 spots for upper-level dragons. The Golden Dragon Clan was unshakable upper level. The Purple Dragon Clan was powerful. If the Black Dragon Clan wanted to become upper-level dragons, they had to push the Green Dragon Clan down. The other dragon clans could only fight for mid-level dragons. The current mid-level dragons were the Black Dragon Clan, the Blue Dragon Clan, and the Red Dragon Clan. Every time the Black Dragon Clan advanced, there would be a mid-level empty space. The Blue Dragon Clan and the Red Dragon Clan were also very powerful. The low-level White Dragon Clan, the Green Dragon Clan, and the Yellow Dragon Clan had to push the Green Dragon Clan down if they wanted to become mid-level dragons. In this way, among the 9 dragon clans, the Green Dragon Clan was the most disliked. The other 8 dragon clans all wanted to step on the Green Dragon Clan. The 7 dragon clans formed a blocking square formation. They had already discussed it in the game of fighting for status. They could let the other dragon clans go, but they would not let the Green Dragon Clan go. If this situation did not change, the Green Dragon Clan would definitely be demoted from upper-level to low-level dragons. Haha! Suddenly, the patriarch of the Black Dragon Clan laughed loudly. The moment he laughed, the Green Dragon Clan leader immediately stood up and pointed the scepter in his hand at the Black Dragon Clan leader. He said angrily, "Black Dragon, you are too despicable. If it was a fair competition, your Black Dragon Clan is only fit to become a low-level dragon clan." The patriarch of the Black Dragon Clan, called Black Dragon's son, stopped laughing. He narrowed his eyes and said, "Azure Dragon's son, you're wrong. If your Green Dragon Clan is strong, then charge over. You can also block in front. Isn't that right, everyone?" Chapter 887. The patriarchs of the dragon tribes were all called Z. For example, the patriarch of the Green Dragon tribe was called Qing Longzi. The patriarch of the Black Dragon tribe was called Black Dragon Z. The patriarch of the White Dragon tribe was called by Longzi. As soon as Black Dragon Z said that, Huang Longzi, and the others all laughed. All right, poof. Faced with Black Dragon Z and the others' mockery, Qing Longzi shouted and placed the scepter in his hand on the steps of his seat. Next, he raised his left hand, and a green light appeared in his palm. Facing the green light, Qing Longzi clenched his teeth and said, "Green Dragon Tribe, listen up. Other than the Green Dragon Tribe, do not let a single dragon enter the tunnel." With that, Qing Longzi clenched his left hand into a fist and coldly glanced at the other patriarchs. "Qing Longzi, you are risking your life here." Huang Longzi stood up with a smile and said, "If you do this, not even a single green dragon will be able to enter the exit. None of your 400,000 dragons will be able to leave alive." Qing Longzi said coldly, "The Green Dragon Tribe has been the noblest of all dragons since the day we were born. If we are reduced to a lower-ranked dragon, we might as well die." With that, Qing Longzi sat down and tightened his grip on the scepter. "All right, stop arguing." At this time, Ancestor Dragon finally spoke, "Control yourselves. You are already so old, and yet you are still so hot-tempered. Don't talk about death. We dragons should be united. No matter which dragon tribe it is, we should fight for our position with our own strength." Ancestor Dragon's voice sounded old and weak, but his words were scolding Qing Longzi, causing Qing Longzi to tighten his grip on the scepter. At this time, Qing Longzi really wanted to take the Green Dragon Tribe away from the dragon field and live independently. Unfortunately, he could not do that. He could only endure because Ancestor Dragon had the Tribe Monument. According to the rumors, the Tribe Monument was a rune treasure that recorded the reproduction of the dragons. But in reality, it was a powerful weapon. With the Tribe Monument, Ancestor Dragon could control the lives of all dragons. At critical times, he could even borrow the power of the entire dragon tribe to transform into the ancient dragon god. After the dragon ancestor finished speaking, Qing Longzi snorted in dissatisfaction. Qing Longzi gave the order, and Qing Longzi's voice rang out from the Azure Dragon Jade tablets in the mouths of all the Azure Dragons. The thousands of Azure Dragons at the front had already completed 2/3 of the journey. At this time, they all stopped and formed a square formation. From now on, they wouldn't care about the dragons that were faster than them. However, they wouldn't let the dragons behind them go, except for the Azure Dragon and the Golden Dragon. Xiao Long, the Azure Dragon tribe has become the enemy of the other 8 dragon tribes. Yang Tian sent a telepathic message to the little blue dragon. The little blue dragon nodded. He didn't say anything, but his gaze became even more determined. With a swing of its tail, its speed increased once more. Yang Tian laughed inwardly as the Origin Realm's energy erupted once again. His speed suddenly increased. At this moment, Yang Tian had yet to use the power of the insect Origin World. He wasn't prepared to use the power of the insect Origin World in this Dragon Tribe trial unless he was forced to. Yang Tian and the little blue dragon increased their speed once more. They were more conspicuous in the ball of light. Qing Longzi, who was in the central Great Hall, suddenly stood up when he saw this scene. "What's that?" Bai Longzi cried out in surprise and also stood up. At this time, everyone's eyes were fixed on Yang Tian and the little blue dragon in the ball of light. "Ha!" Qing Longzi laughed heartily when he saw the little blue dragon and Yang Tian in the ball of light smash dozens of red dragons and blue dragons into pieces, and even a golden dragon that was 50 meters long was smashed into pieces. In their eyes, these 2 azure dragons were like 2 powerful arrows that could pierce through anything. Soon, Yang Tian and the little blue dragon saw an empty space in front of them. The dragons beside them suddenly parted to the sides. It turned out that there were 3 white dragon formations in front of them. They were quietly parked there. Apart from the white dragons, most of the dragons of other colors flew around them. The white dragons directly passed through the 2 wide passageways between the 3 formations. A small number of dragons of other colors were also able to pass through the gaps between the formations. However, the azure dragons were not included. All of the azure dragons were blocked. These white dragons stopped there and erupted with powerful energy. The power of tens of thousands of dragons gathered together to form a huge energy wall. Any azure dragon that crashed into the wall was sent flying to the side and was immediately drowned by the dragons of the other dragon tribes. Yang Tian and the little blue dragon looked at each other when they saw this. The little blue dragon's eyes were filled with anger at this moment. Strictly speaking, the little blue dragon was already a golden dragon of a higher level. However, it was still from the Azure Dragon tribe. Seeing its own kind being bullied, it was naturally angry. The little blue dragon swung its tail and sped up again. As it flew, its body became bigger and bigger. Yang Tian understood that the little blue dragon wanted to use its huge and tyrannical body to forcefully open a path for its own kind. Yang Tian narrowed his eyes slightly. Seeing the little blue dragon fly towards the white dragon formation on the left, he also swung his dragon tail and flew towards the right of the white dragon formation. As he flew, Yang Tian's body also became bigger and bigger. What are they doing? Are they going to forcefully charge through? In the main hall, Huang Longzi saw this situation and exclaimed. Qing Longzi did not say anything. At this moment, he was more nervous than anyone else. Because if they were not strong enough, what the 2 dragons were doing was equivalent to sending themselves to their deaths. However, even if they were to die, their efforts would not be in vain. Because soon, the azure dragons behind Yang Tian and the little blue dragon saw what they were doing and immediately sped up. They enlarged their bodies and followed closely behind. Even if the little blue dragon and Yang Tian did not succeed, there were still more azure dragons behind them who were willing to use their lives to open a path for their own kind. Azure dragons were noble and would not be allowed to become inferior dragons. Enlarging one's body would be very disadvantageous in this kind of competition. A length of more than 10 meters was just right, because if one was bigger, not only would the resistance to advance be greater, it would also be easier to encounter other dragons. And if one was smaller, their strength would not be enough. Boom, boom. The little blue dragon's speed became faster and faster, and its body became bigger and bigger. It turned into a giant dragon that was 100 meters long. Its body rubbed against the air, and flames appeared on the surface of its body. It wanted to use its tyrannical body to forcefully charge through. Compared to the little blue dragon, Yang Tian was not inferior. There were no flames on the surface of his body. He burst out with powerful spiritual power and turned the resistance into the driving force to move forward. He did not have a tyrannical body like the little blue dragon, and all the energy in his body was gathered in his head. The white dragon formation was getting closer and closer to the little blue dragon in Yang Tian. Finally, it plunged in. Boom! Boom! Two loud sounds. Chapter 888. While there was no sound coming from the ball of light, all the dragon patriarchs and elders could imagine how violent the impact was. The formation formed by tens of thousands of white dragons was instantly pierced through by Yang Tian and the little blue dragon. The tens of thousands of green dragons behind them followed closely behind, and the gap became bigger and bigger. Even a paper tape spinning at high speed could cut through steel, let alone the green dragons flying at high speed. After Yang Tian and the little blue dragon broke through the white dragon formation, the two white dragon formations were like pieces of tofu under the rapid impact of the green dragons. They collapsed within a few breaths. If it weren't for the fact that all the green dragons had green dragon jade tags in their mouths, the green dragons would have roared in excitement to express their joy. Bang! When Bai Longzi saw this in the central mezzanine, he was so angry that he broke the armrest of his chair. In this collision, the white dragons had lost at least 100,000 white dragons. The green dragons' losses were almost negligible. Ha! At this time, the green dragon patriarch laughed heartily. He decided that after this assessment, he would reward the two azure dragons who took the lead in the charge heavily. Before the green dragon patriarch could finish laughing, he heard the red dragon patriarch say to the ball of red light in his hand, "Quick, disband the formation immediately." After the white dragon formation, it was the two formations that the red dragons had just built. They were on both sides of the tunnel, leaving only a wide tunnel in the middle. According to the previous plan, the red dragons would work with the white dragons to stop the green dragons. With the red dragon patriarch's order, the two formations of the red dragons immediately spread to the sides, opening up the tunnel in the middle. But the little blue dragon and Yang Tian ignored the tunnel in the middle and rushed toward the two formations of the red dragons. After a while, there were two more boom, boom sounds. The red dragons were even more miserable than the white dragons, facing the green dragons who were flying at high speed. The white dragons had a complete formation and were even using their energy to block. As for the red dragons, after receiving the red dragon patriarch's order, when they retreated to the sides, they did not use any defensive power and also disrupted their formation. The dragon clan was extremely vengeful, especially the eccentric green dragon clan. After charging past the white dragons, the two formations were at least twice as big as before. When the green dragon tribe passed through the two red dragon tribe square formations, the two red dragon tribe square formations were reduced by more than half. Seeing this, Hong Longzi was even angrier and sadder than Bai Longzi. He stood up and said to the black-robed dragon patriarch, "Dragon patriarch, this is a massacre. The green dragons are declaring war against the red dragons." "Umph." Qing Longzi snorted and stood up. He sneered, "If you red dragons didn't block the passage, this wouldn't have happened. This test is a test of speed. What are you red dragon tribe members doing by gathering and stopping there?" The dragon ancestor didn't know what to say. He opened his mouth and closed it again. Since he didn't object when the other dragons formed a formation to block the azure dragon tribe, he couldn't say anything now. The Central Great Hall was silent for a moment. At this moment, all the dragon patriarchs, elders, and dragon patriarchs focused their attention on the front of the two green dragon formations. When they were charging at the white dragon clan's formation, the two rows of green dragon clan's formation were like two sharp spears. When they were charging at the red dragon clan's formation, they became two huge triangles. Each of these triangles was formed by more than 100,000 green dragons. After charging past the red dragon formation, Yang Tian and the little blue dragon tacitly leaned toward the center. The two triangles of the green dragons gradually merged into one. At this moment, the green dragons had already flown at least half of the way. With the white dragon and red dragon patriarch's lesson, The formation formed by the other dragons immediately disintegrated and flew toward the passage. If they stopped now, they would die. If they moved to the side, the result would not be any better. They could only fly forward. But at this moment, under the leadership of Yang Tian and the little blue dragon, the green dragons had already increased their speed to the maximum. The other dragons had only just begun to move. They could not increase their speed in a short period of time. The thousands of green dragons closest to the exit immediately disbanded their formation and continued to fly toward the exit. They did not want to be smashed to pieces by their own kind. The formation formed by the other dragons in front had already disintegrated. Yang Tian and the little blue dragon were no longer worried about violent collisions and closed their eyes again. Dense bang bang sounds rang in Yang Tian and the little blue dragon's ears again. Now, even dragons with stronger bodies than Yang Tian and the little blue dragon could not withstand their collisions. The closer they got to the exit, the smaller the space around them. The Green Dragon Patriarch immediately ordered the green dragons to slow down from the end of the formation. The Green Dragon Patriarch's order was very reasonable. The Green Dragon Patriarch's formation was too thick and could not pass through the exit. And if Yang Tian and the little blue dragon were slowed down, the dragons behind would crash into them and cause chaos in the formation. Yang Tian and the little blue dragon had already helped the Green Dragon Patriarch greatly. At this time, they no longer cared about the green dragons behind them and sped up again. In just a few breaths, the little blue dragon and Yang Tian, one in front and one behind, left the green dragons behind them far behind. When the last dragon in front of them disappeared, Yang Tian and the little blue dragon opened their eyes. The bright exit became bigger and bigger in their eyes until their entire bodies were completely drowned in the bright light. When Yang Tian and the little blue dragon rushed out of the exit, a moment later, the large group of green dragons also caught up with them. For a time, hundreds of thousands of green dragons completely occupied the exit. They passed through quickly, and their formation was not messed up at all. The charge just now had imperceptibly made the green dragons understand how powerful a group strength was. As long as they were united, they could break through even the toughest encirclement. Of course, this was also thanks to Yang Tian and the little blue dragon. If they had not broken the energy of the White Dragon Patriarch's formation, the green dragons behind them would not have been able to form a charging formation. For this round, the Green Dragon Patriarch is first. The Green Dragon Patriarch said calmly after all the green dragons had passed through the passage. No expression could be seen on the black-robed dragon Patriarch's old face. He only slightly raised his right hand that was on the armrest. Immediately, a dragoness carried a tray and walked up the stairs to the Green Dragon Patriarch. On the tray were 9 triangular blue crystals engraved with runes. In this round, the first-place dragon would receive 9 blue crystals, the second place would receive 8, and so on. The next place would have 1 less blue crystal, and the last place would only receive 1 blue crystal. There were 3 rounds in the test. The number of blue crystals received was used to determine one's rank. These blue crystals were also known as rank talismans. In the first round, the Green Dragon Patriarch received 9, the Black Dragon Patriarch received 8, the Purple Dragon Patriarch received 7, the Yellow Dragon Patriarch received 6, the Blue Dragon Patriarch received 5, the Green Dragon Patriarch received 4, the Red Dragon Patriarch received 3, and the Golden Dragon Patriarch received 2 due to their small numbers. The White Dragon Patriarch received the worst, only receiving 1. Chapter 889. Your Azure Dragon Tribe won the first round, but you won't be so lucky in the second round. Black Dragon Child sneered after taking the 8 ranked talismans. We'll only know after the competition, Azure Dragon Child said coldly. The first round was actually a competition of the strength of the team. The second and third rounds were more focused on the individual strength of the tribe. The more powerful dragons there were, the more likely they were to win in the second and third rounds. Although Azure Dragon Child's attitude was unyielding, he lacked confidence. Because of the suppression, the Azure Dragon Tribe's strength was far from before. Whether it was in terms of overall strength or individual strength, there was little difference between them and the Black Dragon tribe. Azure Dragon Child could see this from the first round. Before this, his understanding of his tribe was still stuck in the past. The dragon ancestor was the king of the Black Dragon tribe and possessed the resources of the entire dragon tribe. With his support, the Black Dragon tribe had given birth to many powerful black dragons in this long period of time. Even if the Azure Dragon tribe produced dazzling experts, the dragon ancestor would find reasons to send them away. This time, the Azure Dragons that returned to the Azure Dragon tribe were relatively average in strength, except for the two Azure Dragons that had led the Azure Dragon tribe. Those two dragons had created a miracle for the Azure Dragon tribe in the first round. Would they be able to create another miracle in the second and third rounds? Azure Dragon Child could only look forward to it. After charging out of the passage, Yang Tian and the little blue dragon saw a vast region appear in front of them. Nearly 100 huge balls of light floated in the sky. They were colorful and very eye-catching. Yang Tian glanced around and identified a total of 99 balls of light in the sky. They were divided into 9 different colors, and each color corresponded to a dragon tribe. Each ball of light was a rune treasure that emitted a strong energy fluctuation. It wasn't just these balls of light. This world was also constructed from rune energy. This was the content of the second round. These balls of light were called destiny crystals, and each dragon tribe had 11 of them. The 99 destiny crystals of different colors were scattered rather messily. They were not gathered together in the same color. The second round's test was to protect one's own destiny crystal. Under this condition, one had to destroy the destiny crystals of other dragons. There was a time limit to this. When all the fate crystals were extinguished, the trial would be over. The final ranking was determined by the number of fate crystals remaining. If another dragon race member destroyed one, they would have to destroy 2 fate crystals of the other dragon race to make up for it. Because every dragon had a jade pendant in its mouth, they couldn't use their mouths to tear the jade pendants apart. The most important thing was physical strength. Their weapons were claws, dragon horns, and dragon whiskers. For the Green Dragon tribe, the situation at this stage was rather grim, because this was something that could be traded for benefits. For example, the Black Dragon race. Under the dragon ancestors' orders, the Golden Dragons, who didn't need to worry about their rank, might give away their 11 fate crystals to other dragon races. Dragons with low strength and no hope of leveling up could also use fate crystals to exchange for benefits in the real world. This was unimaginable when humans had yet to enter the dragon realm. Ever since the appearance of humans, the intelligent humans had influenced the dragon clan, causing the dragon clan to become cunning. Although the Green Dragon tribe had the advantage in numbers, the second stage of the trial hadn't begun yet. There was a layer of runic energy in the air, preventing them from rising into the air and forming a formation to protect the green fate crystals. Under the instructions of the Green Dragon tribe's leaders, the Green Dragon tribe divided into 11 groups according to their numbers and gathered under the 11 balls of light. When they finished gathering, the armies of the other branches of the dragon race had also arrived. The fate crystals in the air were very far away. Even with millions of dragons gathered under them, it didn't seem crowded at all. Yang Tian raised his head and looked at the green balls of light in the sky and the balls of light of other colors. He lowered his head and said to the little blue dragon with his mind power, "Later, we won't participate in the defense. We'll go and destroy them. This way, we won't be restricted." The little blue dragon had the same idea and immediately nodded. "Rise!" When all the dragons arrived in this space, a loud shout echoed throughout the entire space. At this time, the runic energy in the air also disappeared. All the dragons waved their tails at the same time and rushed toward the fate crystals that belonged to their tribes. For the 9 dragon tribes, the most important task was to protect the fate crystals that belonged to their own dragon tribe. The fate crystals in the sky seemed very close, but in reality, they were very far away. Moreover, the higher they flew, the greater the resistance they faced. The fate crystals closest to Yang Tian and the little blue dragon were the fate crystals of the other dragon tribes. They were emitting purple and earthen yellow light. They belonged to the purple dragon tribe and the yellow dragon tribe. As Yang Tian rose, he looked at each other. Then Yang Tian waved his tail and flew toward the purple fate crystal. The little blue dragon flew toward the yellow fate crystal. Yang Tian and the little blue dragon's abnormal actions were quickly noticed by the other dragon tribes. Hundreds of purple dragons surrounded Yang Tian. On the other side, thousands of yellow dragons also rushed toward the little blue dragon. Before the dragon tribes completed the protection of their fate crystals, they would naturally be wary of other dragon tribes. In this situation, Yang Tian and the little blue dragon were not the only ones. The other dragon tribes also had powerful individuals doing this. Looking at the hundreds of purple dragons rushing toward him, Yang Tian's eyes showed a hint of disdain. He could not use his mouth to spit fire, but he could use powerful electric currents. Crack! Boom! With a loud bang, Yang Tian's horns shot out a thick pillar of electricity that was 1 meter in diameter. As it moved forward, it instantly formed a huge electric net that enveloped the dozens of purple dragons. The electric current that Yang Tian shot out contained origin power and had shocking destructive power. Roar! 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 Several of the purple dragons that were enveloped by the electric current could not help but scream in pain. As they screamed, the jade tablets in their mouths fell off and were immediately repelled by this space. Yang Tian took this opportunity to pass through the purple dragons that were writhing in pain and flew toward the purple fate crystal that was not far away. On the other side, the little blue dragon's method was much more barbaric and directly crashed into the yellow dragon that was blocking in front of him. A series of boom, boom, boom. After breaking through the yellow dragon's obstruction, a yellow dragon that exuded a powerful aura blocked in front of the little blue dragon. At the same time, a purple dragon also appeared in front of Yang Tian. It was not just Yang Tian and the little blue dragon. The powerful dragons of the other dragon tribes had all left the team. The weak dragons could only take on the role of guardian, while the powerful dragons were responsible for destroying the fate crystals of the other dragon tribes. At the same time, they also had to block the powerful dragons of the other dragon tribes. A large-scale and intense battle was about to begin. Chapter 890. After entering the second stage, all the dragons had become extremely large. The purple dragon that was blocking Yang Tian was hundreds of meters long. It waved its dragon claws and pounced toward Yang Tian. Yang Tian's dragon form was about the same size as the purple dragon. Pung! With a muffled sound, Yang Tian's 2 front claws clashed with the purple dragon's 2 front claws. Then, at the same time, Yang Tian and the purple dragon extended their dragon horns toward each other. If it were not for the jade tag in their mouths, they would have already bitten down. After a short moment of contact, Yang Tian and the purple dragon were both repelled away. At this time, a large group of purple dragons had already passed by Yang Tian and were flying toward the purple fate crystal. They were about to surround it and protect it. If that was the case, it would take a long time to destroy the purple fate crystal. The power that the purple dragon unleashed was only slightly weaker than the little blue dragon. It was on par with Yang Tian. After blocking Yang Tian, the purple dragon did not attack Yang Tian. Instead, it hovered in the air, guarding against Yang Tian. It seemed like it was hoping that Yang Tian would retreat. Its mission was mainly to defend. Yang Tian glanced to the side and saw that the little blue dragon had already broken out of the encirclement of the yellow dragons. With a swing of its tail, it quickly flew toward the yellow fate crystal. The yellow dragons were obviously injured and fell down. Yang Tian was a human. Even if he was already familiar with using his dragon form, under the same power, there was still a gap between him and a natural dragon. Boom! At this time, there was an explosion in the sky. A green fate crystal had exploded. Yang Tian turned around and saw that it was a group of red dragons that destroyed the fate crystal. There were no less than 50,000 of them. Although under the leadership of Yang Tian and the little blue dragon, the Red Dragon tribe had lost nearly 100,000 dragons. Their numbers were still much greater than the Green Dragon tribes. They had enough dragons to attack. The Azure Dragon race only had a little over 300,000 dragons. They were divided into 11 groups, and there were less than 40,000 Azure Dragons guarding each Fate Crystal. Their strength was far too weak. After destroying a Fate Crystal that belonged to the Green Dragon tribe, the group of Red Dragons flew towards the next Fate Crystal. The closest one to them was the Fate Crystal of the White Dragon race, but they actually ignored it. Clearly, the sabotage this time was completely targeted at the Azure Dragon tribe. When one of the Fate Crystals was destroyed, the Azure Dragons that were guarding it immediately scattered. They wanted to gather around the remaining Fate Crystals and strengthen their defenses, but they didn't expect that a group of Black Dragons would surround them and block them. When the Black Dragon clan moved, the situation in the sky immediately changed. The White Dragon tribe, who already had no hope of advancing, had completely given up. Apart from sending a small number of dragons to guard the Fate Crystals, the majority of them flew towards the green Fate Crystals. When the White Dragon tribe moved, the Golden Dragon tribe also moved. There were only a little over 100,000 golden dragons, but every one of them was incomparably large. Even the smallest dragon was close to 200 meters long. With such a small number, they actually sent out half of their dragons, and their target was also the green Fate Crystal. For a moment, the Green Dragon tribe seemed to have become the public enemy of the entire dragon tribe. Seeing this situation, Yang Tian was worried for the Green Dragon tribe. Yang Tian was about to continue when suddenly, more than 10 powerful black dragons and 2 golden dragons surrounded Yang Tian. In the first trial, Yang Tian and the little blue dragon's performance was truly too eye-catching. All the elders of the dragon tribe had noticed them. In the second trial, they became the focus of the other dragon tribes. It was the same on the little blue dragon's side. Seeing the rapidly approaching dragons, Yang Tian used his spiritual power to say to the little blue dragon, Xiaolong, in this trial, we have to use our strongest power. Otherwise, the Green Dragon tribe will very likely be reduced to a low-ranked dragon tribe. This will be very disadvantageous for you in the competition for the Dragon Ancestor's position. But if we use our strongest power, we will expose our strength in advance, and the other dragons will be on guard. The little blue dragon used practical actions to answer Yang Tian. Crackle, suddenly, the little blue dragon hovered in the air, and the surface of its body suddenly flashed with silver-white electricity. From afar, the little blue dragon looked like it was trapped in a cage formed by electricity. In the past, when a little blue dragon attacked its enemies with electricity, the electricity would disappear in a flash. But now, the surface of the little blue dragon's body was constantly flashing with electricity. Not only that, but as it continued to release electric currents, its body continued to grow. In a few breaths, it had transformed into a dragon that was more than 200 meters long. At this time, even the largest golden dragon could not be compared to the little blue dragon. Surrounded by electricity, the little blue dragon's transformation made all the dragons who saw this scene widen their eyes. After completing the transformation, the little blue dragon immediately turned around and rushed toward a red Fate Crystal in the distance. The Red Dragon tribe destroyed one of the Green Dragon tribe's Fate Crystals, so they would use all of their Fate Crystals to pay for it. If it were not for the jade tablets in their mouths, the entire space would have been filled with dragon roars. Although the little blue dragon turned around and stopped attacking the Fate Crystal of the Yellow Dragon tribe, the yellow dragons blocked its path. Now, as long as it was the green dragon, it would be blocked by all the other dragons. Faced with dozens of yellow dragons blocking its path, the little blue dragon's eyes flashed with contempt, and it directly crashed into them. Bzzz, bzz, bzz. One had to know that the little azure dragon's entire body was currently flashing with electric sparks. Before the sparks had even touched its body, several yellow dragons had already been electrocuted to the point of trembling. The jade tablets in their mouths had even fallen out, and they were immediately excluded from this space. Yang Tian did not expect the little blue dragon to have such a move. However, this method consumed too much energy at a very fast rate. This also showed that the little blue dragon was extremely angry and was willing to throw caution to the wind. Since the little blue dragon had already gone crazy, Yang Tian did not hold back. With a thought, Yang Tian's body also began to change. His dragon body rapidly grew until it was the size of the little blue dragon. With a thought, the power of the insect origin world in Yang Tian's body rapidly poured into his enormous body. Powerful ripples of energy spread out from Yang Tian's body. At this moment, red insect patterns appeared on Yang Tian's forehead. Because the skin of a dragon was like the bark of an ancient tree, it was not very conspicuous. With the energy of the insect origin world pouring into his body, Yang Tian's dragon body quickly reached the level of a demigod. With a powerful body, even if the dragon ancestor came, Yang Tian would be able to fight him. In this space, there was no dragon stronger than him. The powerful energy formed a powerful aura. The surrounding dragons were suppressed by this aura to the point that they did not even dare to breathe loudly. With a wave of his dragon tail, Yang Tian charged towards a black fate crystal in the distance. Chapter 891. When Little Azure Dragon and Yang Tian went berserk, no dragon could stop them. Boom! 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 The fate crystals exploded one after another. The interval between the explosions was only a few seconds. For a moment, black fate crystals and red fate crystals exploded. Fate crystals were as fragile as glass. A sweep of a dragon's tail, or even a dragon's whiskers, could destroy them. In the central hall, the faces of the black dragon and red dragon were so dark that ink was about to drip out. As for the azure dragon, the excited smile on his face never disappeared. This was too satisfying. How could the Azure Dragon tribe have two such powerful dragons? One of them was close to the power of a demigod, and the other completely had the power of a demigod. At this time, no one noticed that the black-robed dragon ancestor's eyes flashed with a fierce light. For the sake of the Black Dragon tribe's rise, he didn't mind making these two azure dragons disappear from this world at the crucial moment. They were going to die anyway. The result was already predictable. The time for the second trial hadn't arrived yet. Apart from the Azure Dragon tribe's 3 fate crystals that were still lit up, the others had all been destroyed. 96 fate crystals had been destroyed, and the Yang Tian had destroyed 32. The little blue dragon had destroyed 27. After the second trial, the Azure Dragon tribe had obtained another 9 grade talismans. If not for the rule that the highest number of grade talismans one could obtain was 9, he would have obtained even more. The Black Dragon tribe had obtained 2, and the other dragon tribes had also obtained 1 or 2. They were tied for second and third. With the first trial as a foundation, there was no change in the rankings of the 9 dragon tribes after the second trial ended. Right now, the Azure Dragon tribe had obtained 18 grade talismans, the Black Dragon tribe had 10, the Purple Dragon tribe had 9, the Yellow Dragon tribe had 7, the Blue Dragon tribe had 6, the Green Dragon tribe had 5, the Red Dragon tribe had 4, the Golden Dragon tribe had 3, and the White Dragon tribe had 2. This way, the Azure Dragon tribe was able to maintain their position as the top dragon tribe. In the third trial, even if the Azure Dragon tribe was at the bottom, they would still obtain 19 grade talismans. Even if the Black Dragon clan obtained 9, their ranking would only be tied with the Green Dragon clan. As for the Purple Dragon tribe and the Yellow Dragon tribe, it was impossible for them to obtain more ranked talismans than the Azure Dragon tribe, let alone the other dragon branches. The Golden Dragon tribe was always at the top. After the second round, the Green Dragon tribe took another spot. There was only 1 spot left. The remaining upper rank slot would be decided between the Black Dragon tribe and the Purple Dragon tribe. As for the mid-rank, they would be produced by the Yellow Dragon clan, the Black Dragon clan, the Purple Dragon clan, and the Blue Dragon clan. As for the White Dragon tribe and the Red Dragon tribe, there was no need for them to compete for the middle rank. This kind of situation had never happened before. Forget it, my White Dragon race will not fight for it. Bai Longzi said helplessly after a moment of silence in the central Great Hall. Han Longzi also let out a long sigh and said indifferently, "My clan will not fight for it either." As soon as Han Longzi said that, Lan Longzi also said, "My clan will not fight for it either. There is no need for it." Originally, the Red Dragon tribe could stay at the mid-rank. However, due to Yang Tian and the Little Blue Dragon, the Red Dragon tribe's strength had been greatly reduced. They were no longer qualified to compete for the mid-rank. Back on the Five Dragons Island, as a Sin Dragon, the Azure Dragon tribe looked down on the Black Dragon tribe and the White Dragon tribe. In reality, this was because the rankings of these dragon tribes had always changed between the mid-rank and the low rank in the previous competitions. As for the upper rank, the Green Dragon tribe had always maintained it. It was the Purple Dragon tribe and the Yellow Dragon tribe that changed. This time, the Black Dragon tribe participated in the competition for the upper rank, which was equivalent to pushing the Purple Dragon tribe down from the upper rank. Before the start of the test, all the Dragon tribe leaders, including Qing Longzi, did not have much confidence in the Green Dragon tribe remaining at the upper rank. "There is no need for my Green Dragon tribe to fight for it anymore, right?" Qing Longzi said with a chuckle after Lan Longzi finished speaking. No one stood up to oppose Qing Longzi because it was the truth. After a moment of silence, Zi Longzi, who rarely spoke, stood up and said to the dragon ancestor, "My tribe will give the upper rank to the Black Dragon tribe. We will not fight for it anymore." After saying that, Zi Longzi sat down dejectedly. The content of the third round was personally determined by the dragon ancestor. It would definitely lean towards the Black Dragon tribe. If the Purple Dragon tribe insisted on fighting with the Black Dragon tribe, there would definitely be a lot of casualties. They would not be able to get a good result, so they might as well give up. With Zi Longzi giving up, there was no need for the third round of the test anymore. With this, the new ranking of the Dragon tribe was finally decided. The upper-ranked dragons were the Golden Dragon tribe, the Green Dragon tribe, and the Black Dragon tribe. The mid-ranked dragons were the Purple Dragon tribe, the Yellow Dragon tribe, and the Green Dragon tribe. The lower-ranked dragons were the White Dragon tribe, the Blue Dragon tribe, and the Red Dragon tribe. The dragon ancestor did not expect this result at all. He gritted his teeth and coldly glanced at Zi Longzi. If Zi Longzi did not give up, the dragon ancestor would have an excuse to let all the dragon tribe enter the third round of the test. He was completely confident that the Black Dragon tribe would win the third round. Even if the Green Dragon tribe's position was already decided, he would still make the Green Dragon tribe suffer a great loss in the third round. However, Zi Longzi did not cooperate. None of the old fellows sitting here were stupid. All right then, since the dragon tribe's ranking has been decided, then let's disperse. The somewhat depressed dragon ancestor raised his hand and said indifferently. The 9 dragon tribe patriarchs and dozens of elders immediately stood up. After bowing to the dragon ancestor, they left the central hall one after another. After the 3 green fate crystals that belonged to the Green Dragon tribe extinguished, the scene in front of Yang Tian distorted. When it became clear, Yang Tian discovered that he had already returned to the Green Dragon tribe's territory and was suspended in the air 1,000 meters above the ground. Yang Tian and the Little Blue Dragon landed on the ground. The Little Blue Dragon turned back into Mini Dragon, and Yang Tian turned back into his human body and returned to the small pavilion where he lived before. Xiaolong, this time, we have made a great contribution to the Green Dragon tribe. The higher-ups will definitely reward us, right? Sitting on a wide chair, Yang Tian took out a jar of wine and 2 large bowls and placed them on the table. After pouring the wine, he said with a smile. The Little Blue Dragon nodded and jumped onto the table. It directly sank its head into the wine bowl. With a slurp, the wine was gone. The Little Blue Dragon, who had not drunk enough, directly jumped into the wine jar. Yang Tian had no choice but to take out another jar. After returning to Earth, the thing that Yang Tian brought back the most was wine. The good wine that had been stored in the cellar for many years was fragrant and rich. Before the wine was enough, Yang Tian and the Little Blue Dragon's jade tablet transmitted Azure Dragon's voice, asking Yang Tian and the little blue dragon to come to the Azure Dragon Palace. This voice was too familiar to Yang Tian. During the examination, he had heard it many times. Xiaolong, you're finally here. Let's go to the Azure Dragon Palace and see what rewards we can get. After saying that, Yang Tian stood up and walked down the stairs with a smile. The little blue dragon drank up the half jar of wine that Yang Tian had not finished and then followed with satisfaction. Chapter 892. In the Azure Dragon Palace, Qing Longzi sat on a high chair with 32 elders of the Azure Dragon clan standing on both sides. The spacious palace was silent. After a while, a series of footsteps sounded, and soon, a tall figure appeared at the entrance of the palace. Yang Tian paused for a moment when he stepped through the hall door and swept a glance at the situation within the hall before he entered proudly. Yang Tian only stopped when he was less than 20 meters away from Qing Longzi and bowed slightly to Qing Longzi. Qing Longzi raised his hand with a smile on his face. Qing Longzi was very fond of Yang Tian and the little blue dragon. Because in this assessment, Yang Tian and the little blue dragon had one back face for him. What's your name? And this little guy? When Yang Tian straightened up, Qing Longzi looked at Yang Tian and the little blue dragon and asked, Xiaolong, Yang Tian. This is my younger brother, Xiaolong. Yang Tian said indifferently. Why don't you transform into your human form? Qing Longzi asked again. This question was easy to answer. Yang Tian said indifferently, Xiaolong doesn't like it. So, Qing Longzi nodded and didn't care about this. Yang Tian and Xiaolong. An elder stood up and said with a smile, This time, you've done a great service for a dragon clan. Our Azure Dragon clan has always been fair in rewards and punishments. What reward do you want? Quickly say it. Reward? Yang Tian thought that after arriving here, the elders of the Azure Dragon clan would ask about his and the little blue dragon's background. He didn't expect that they would only ask for their names. Yang Tian rolled his eyes and bowed to Qing Longzi again. If possible, we'd like to enter the Azure Dragon realm to cultivate. Ha ha! After Yang Tian finished speaking, Qing Longzi laughed. The Azure Dragon elder who spoke earlier waited for Qing Longzi to finish laughing before saying with a smile, This isn't much of a reward. Let's change it. Yang Tian could only say, Xiaolong wants to know who his parents are. When Yang Tian said this, Qing Longzi and the other elders frowned at the same time. After a long while, Qing Longzi sighed and said in a helpless tone, This wouldn't have been a problem a long time ago. But now, only the dragon ancestor, who possessed the clan monument, could do so. Because the dragon clan has gone through several great changes, countless of our kind have wandered outside, and our bloodline has long been unclear. You two have never been to the dragon field before, right? Yang Tian nodded. The little blue dragon's expression darkened. Although it had expected this outcome, it was still very disappointed. Qing Longzi could not satisfy Yang Tian's request, so he could only reward Yang Tian and the little blue dragon with a high-level beast core. This was necessary. If the merit was not rewarded, it would be very detrimental to the cohesion of the Azure Dragon clan. In addition to receiving a beast core, Yang Tian and the little blue dragon were both allowed to enter the Azure Dragon realm in advance to cultivate. In fact, Yang Tian could also use the talisman array to create a secret realm where the flow of time was different from the outside world. However, he and the little blue dragon had cultivated to their current level. Without the support of a huge amount of energy, even if they entered a space where the flow of time was 100 times faster than the outside world, it would be a waste of time. The energy released by the beast cores and elixirs that Yang Tian collected in the storage space of the Everlasting Temple was also far inferior. In terms of quality, it was far from being comparable to the beast cores and elixirs in the Sea of Stars. The entrance of the Azure Dragon realm was behind the main hall. It was reached after crossing a door. This was a vast expanse of white space, as if they were in a fog. The white fog floating in the space was the energy released by the elixirs. It had a very strong smell of grass and wood, so strong that it could be seen with the naked eye. The energy released by the beast cores was mixed with the energy of the elixirs and was assimilated by the energy of the elixirs. Yang Tian could not help but sigh in admiration. The ratio of the energy in the Azure Dragon realm was really too perfect. It must have been concocted after countless attempts. Since they were here, Yang Tian and the little blue dragon did not hold back anymore. The little blue dragon transformed into a huge dragon and flew into the air. It opened its mouth and inhaled fiercely. The white energy within a few hundred meters all surged into its mouth. Yang Tian glanced at the little blue dragon in the air and smiled. His figure flashed and disappeared into the white fog. A few minutes later, Yang Tian finally stopped. After some investigation, he was able to determine the size of the space. Such a dense space was spherical in shape and had a diameter of more than 3,000 miles. This was completely different from the Azure Dragon realm in the outside world. There was no place to store beast cores and elixirs in the Azure Dragon realm. The energy in this space was absorbed from another place by the talisman array. What Yang Tian and the little blue dragon did not know was that outside the Azure Dragon realm, Qing Longzi and the other elders were now so shocked that their eyes were wide open. This was because ever since the little blue dragon began to absorb energy, the energy density in the Azure Dragon realm decreased at a rapid rate. The dozens of human talisman masters in charge of controlling the talisman array outside had no choice but to speed up the operation of the talisman array. They threw precious beast cores and elixirs into a huge smelting furnace. The Azure Dragon clan had been suppressed to the point that Qing Longzi and the other elders were afraid. If any dragon dared to absorb such a large amount of energy in the Azure Dragon realm when the Azure Dragon clan was at its peak, they would definitely be expelled. Even if the Azure Dragon realm doubled in size, it would not be enough to absorb energy like this. But now, Qing Longzi and the other elders were very happy. This was because they were already old. No matter how much energy they absorbed, their realms would not be able to increase. They were more willing to see the young Azure Dragon rise, continue to lead the Azure Dragon clan, and make the Azure Dragon clan even stronger. The oppression from the outside world made the Azure Dragon clan extremely united, unlike the other dragon clans that had internal conflicts. When Yang Tian sensed that the energy in the Azure Dragon realm was being madly absorbed by the little blue dragon, and after a short period of dilution, it suddenly became denser, he knew that the speed of energy transfer outside had increased. Yang Tian chuckled and sat cross-legged on the ground. A moment later, 6 1-meter diameter black holes appeared around his body. In terms of energy absorption speed, the little blue dragon could not compare to Yang Tian's black holes. With a thought, Yang Tian activated the black hole chain. The 6 black holes produced a powerful suction force, and energy crazily surged towards Yang Tian's location. In order not to overdo it, Yang Tian controlled the speed of the black holes to be about the same as the little blue dragons. This way, the elders outside would not find it unacceptable. With Yang Tian's absorption, the speed of energy consumption doubled. Under Qing Longzi's command, dozens of human talisman masters had no choice but to activate the backup refining furnaces. Yang Tian's body now contained 2 worlds of energy. One was the origin realm, and the other was the insect origin realm. The origin realm contained the energy that Yang Tian had cultivated, while the insect origin realm contained the energy unique to the insect race. Compared to the energy in the insect origin realm, the energy in the origin realm was far inferior. If Yang Tian transferred all the energy he absorbed into the insect origin realm and converted it into insect race energy, he might be able to reach the level of a full godhead and become a true insect god. However, he chose to transfer all the energy into the origin realm. Chapter 893. Soon, hundreds of Azure Dragons entered the Azure Dragon realm. This was because the flow of time in the Azure Dragon realm was 100 times faster than outside. By the time several hundred Azure Dragons entered the Azure Dragon realm, Yang Tian and the little Azure Dragon had already spent more than a month in the Azure Dragon realm. Dragon 1 was a terrifying creature, especially when it came to absorbing energy. After hundreds of dragons entered the Azure Dragon realm, less than half a day later, the energy was only a third of its original level. It was impossible for the outside world to supply energy continuously. After that, the energy density kept decreasing until it finally stabilized. This was already half a year later. For Yang Tian and the little blue dragon, the degree of thinness of the energy was no different from outside, so they stopped absorbing energy and began to quietly recuperate. The origin realm in Yang Tian's body doubled in size once again. At this time, Yang Tian discovered a benefit of the black hole chain. Its existence could actually stabilize the origin realm. In the past, when the origin realm expanded too quickly, the resulting tremors were too much for Yang Tian to bear. The expansion of the origin realm not only allowed Yang Tian to use energy faster, but it also allowed it to accommodate and integrate other worlds. For example, the spiritual energy world and the energy world constructed by the power of the Dragon Ball. If the insect origin realm was also included in the origin realm, what kind of situation would it be? In other words, Yang Tian wanted to combine the energies of human, beast, and insect into one. Among them, Yang Tian's bloodline power and spiritual energy represented the human energy that Yang Tian possessed. The power of the Dragon Ball represented the beast energy, and the power of the insect origin realm represented the insect energy. With the creation of the origin realm and the origin realm, Yang Tian successfully merged the power of human and beast into one. He succeeded because he obtained the power of the Dragon Ball and the power of the little blue dragon's bloodline. The result of the fusion gave Yang Tian origin power with astonishing destructive power. However, this destructive power had been greatly reduced since he came to the Sea of Stars. It was not as prominent as before. If the insect origin realm was incorporated into the origin realm and the insect energy and origin power were merged, what kind of power would it produce? Yang Tian was excited just thinking about it. There was still plenty of time anyway. Why not give it a try? The reason Yang Tian had such thoughts was because of his thirst for power. As a cultivator, he yearned for greater power and sharper energy attributes. Secondly, the insect race was the common enemy of both the beast race and the human race. If they didn't hide the forces in the insect origin world, they might become the common enemy of the entire universe. Yang Tian had the courage to become the enemy of the entire world, but he didn't think it was necessary. Having said that, Yang Tian controlled a portion of origin power with his consciousness and gathered it in his right hand. He then transferred a portion of the insectoid power to his left hand. Yang Tian slowly moved his hands, placing his palms against each other as he slowly got closer. Before the two forces even came into contact, there was already a strong repulsive force. Although there was only a trace of each force, the repulsive force was very strong. Yang Tian narrowed his eyes and forced his palms together. Pong! There was an explosion. Yang Tian's palms were blasted away by the explosion. The two forces did not fuse together and simply disappeared. Water and fire don't mix. Yang Tian smiled helplessly. Although his attempt had failed, Yang Tian didn't give up. After all, he didn't succeed right from the start when he created origin power. The disturbance caused by Yang Tian caused the little blue dragon, who was meditating with his eyes closed, to open his eyes. When he saw that Yang Tian was fine, he closed his eyes again. What should he do? Yang Tian began to think hard. When it came to cultivation, Yang Tian had a one-track mind. He wouldn't give up until he reached his goal. If he wanted to fuse the two forces together, there had to be at least some commonality between the two forces. Yang Tian carefully recalled the process of creating origin power and thought to himself, mental power? That's impossible. Insects' brains aren't developed enough. In that case, it can only be bloodline power. When he thought of this, Yang Tian suddenly realized that although he could use the insectoid power, he wasn't familiar with it and didn't have a deep understanding of it. Following that, Yang Tian's consciousness completely entered the insect origin realm. For the first time, Yang Tian began to analyze the insectoid power seriously. In the insect origin realm, Yang Tian wrapped a wisp of insectoid power with his consciousness and began to comprehend it seriously. All forces had their own attributes, and the insectoid power was no exception. If he wanted to understand the insectoid power's attributes, he had to know its structure. In that case, he had to break down this power. This was a long and delicate project. Time slowly passed. A month later, Yang Tian, who was sitting with his legs crossed, suddenly opened his eyes. He exhaled deeply and shook his head. The little blue dragon was still lying next to Yang Tian, but it had already adjusted the energy in its body and turned back into a mini dragon. It was sleeping soundly while hugging a leaf. Yang Tian couldn't help but laugh. At this moment, the other azure dragons were desperately absorbing the energy in the space, but this fellow was actually sleeping. Without Yang Tian and the little blue dragon frantically absorbing energy, the energy in the space became many times denser. After calming himself down, Yang Tian exhaled deeply and closed his eyes again. This time, he didn't transfer his consciousness to the insect origin realm. Instead, he began to digest the insectoid inheritance information. The previous failure made Yang Tian realize that he still didn't understand the insectoid race well enough. He had to completely absorb the insectoid inheritance before trying again. This was also a long process. Although the insectoid race lived a simple life, after countless generations, the amount of information they inherited could be described as enormous. In his mind, Yang Tian first saw the life of the insectoid monarch. Then, he looked up and saw the previous generation of insectoids. Then, he continued to look forward. This process was like traveling through time. After an unknown period of time, Yang Tian finally saw a strange insectoid. It was a gigantic insectoid beast. Its shape was similar to a crab. Its oval-shaped body was covered with fur unique to beasts. It had 10 legs under its abdomen and 2 large pincers. These were the limbs of an insectoid. After seeing this strange insectoid, the insectoid also looked at Yang Tian. When Yang Tian's gaze met the insectoid's, there was a loud boom. Yang Tian's mind shook violently, and his soul was almost shaken out of his body. Damn, what kind of insectoid is this? It's too powerful. I can't even look at it. Yang Tian couldn't help but hold his head in pain as he thought to himself. The progenitor insectoid. When this question appeared in Yang Tian's mind, the strange thing was the answer also appeared. This was an extremely powerful insectoid. Yang Tian was slowly moving forward while searching for the insectoid inheritance information. He didn't expect to see an insectoid that was still alive. Yang Tian was certain that this insectoid was still alive. Moreover, it had just sensed Yang Tian's spying. After a long time, Yang Tian's mind finally cleared. He asked the strange program and found that 52 years had passed. After answering Yang Tian's question, the strange program also told Yang Tian that many Azure Dragons had already left the Azure Dragon realm. It was estimated that the Azure Dragon realm would close soon. Chapter 894. The most difficult period had already passed, and for Yang Tian, the rest of the journey would not take too long. At this moment, Yang Tian had a clear understanding of the insect race. In the Azure Dragon realm, after several decades, Yang Tian's consciousness once again entered the insect origin realm. Yang Tian used his mind to divide a sliver of insect race energy into 3 types of energy. This process didn't consume much of Yang Tian's energy. The 3 types of energy were the bloodline power of the insect race, as well as the power of space and the power of time. With this, Yang Tian finally understood why high-level insect race insects could transmit energy even if they were separated by tens of millions of kilometers. The structure of this energy was truly too unique. Cultivators had to rely on runes to utilize the power of space and time. They couldn't absorb, create, or use them on their own. However, the insect race had managed to do so. Although the insect race couldn't compare to humans and beasts in terms of intelligence, they were far superior in terms of physical evolution. Ha! Yang Tian couldn't help but laugh excitedly. From now on, Yang Tian could directly use the power of space and time. He only needed to use his mind to divide the insect race energy. Originally, the three types of energy had no color. Yang Tian thought for a moment, and with a thought, a new piece of information appeared in his mind. From now on, the insect race bloodline power was a faint red, the power of space was a faint blue, and the power of time was a faint green in his vision. The reason for this separation was naturally to make it easier to use. So, should he merge the insect origin realm with the origin realm and combine the insect race energy with the origin realm? Should he continue trying, or should he quit while he was ahead? Yang Tian thought for a moment and decided to continue trying. It didn't matter even if he failed. If he succeeded, he might be able to create an unprecedented type of energy. Yang Tian began to think again. This time, he took a longer time to think. After an unknown period of time, the strange program joined Yang Tian's thoughts. After countless collaborations, Yang Tian's thoughts and the strange program had reached a level higher than tacit understanding. 1 year, 2 years, 3 years. As he pondered, time passed quickly. In the blink of an eye, 10 years had passed. Apart from Yang Tian and the little blue dragon, the other Azure Dragons who had entered the Azure Dragon realm had all left. Most of the Azure Dragons that had entered the Azure Dragon realm had already advanced to the next level. To them, there was no need to stay any longer. It was better for them to leave the Azure Dragon realm and spar with other Azure Dragons to increase their battle strength. Yang Tian spent most of the 10 years helping the strange program understand the attributes of the various energies in his body. The strange program used this information to build all sorts of virtual energy databases. As soon as the database was completed, the strange program started running in Yang Tian's brain. All kinds of energy were constantly combining to produce many new types of energy. During this process, Yang Tian's understanding of energy rose to another level. Yang Tian allowed the strange program to build an energy database and combine it continuously. This was all for his ultimate goal, which was to fuse origin power and insectoid power to produce new energy. After 10 years of preparation, the conditions were ripe. Yang Tian opened his eyes. Then, in the Azure Dragon realm, he started roasting meat with the little blue dragon. At this time, more than half a year had passed in the outside world. The Azure Dragon tribe's chief, Qing Longzi, and the elders were already handling the tribe's affairs and making the final preparations for the upcoming battle for the dragon ancestor's position. They would never have thought that Yang Tian would be roasting meat in the Azure Dragon realm. If they had known, they would have closed the Azure Dragon realm immediately. In order to increase the battle strength of the hundreds of Azure Dragons in the tribe, the Azure Dragon tribe emptied their storage, at this time, in the Azure Dragon Palace. There's not much time left. Qing Longzi, who was sitting on a high seat, sighed helplessly. At this time, Qing Longzi's face was full of gloom. This was because hundreds of Azure Dragons had entered the Azure Dragon realm. After they came out, they were very dissatisfied with the increase in battle strength. In addition, in the other dragon tribes, many powerful fellows were born in this half a year. Especially the Black Dragon tribes Taiyu, the Golden Dragon tribes Gu Yi, the White Dragon tribes Bai Kong, the Yellow Dragon tribes Huang Li, and the Purple Dragon tribes Huawei. These 5 dragons actually did not appear in the previous battle. Perhaps it was because they looked down on the Azure Dragon tribe. As for the Azure Dragon tribe, although they won a battle and kept their position as an upper-level dragon tribe, they used all their strength. One must know that the Azure Dragon tribe had the Azure Dragon realm, the Black Dragon tribe also had the Black Dragon realm, and the Yellow Dragon tribe also had the Yellow Dragon realm. These dragon tribes had much more resources than the Azure Dragon tribe. Yang Tian and Xiao Long haven't come out yet. The palace was silent for a moment, and then an elder said indifferently, "The dragons that came out of the Azure Dragon realm had no hope of competing for the dragon ancestor's position. Now, only Yang Tian and the little blue dragon were left." Qing Longzi closed his eyes and pondered for a moment. After opening his eyes, he asked an elder, How many pills and beast cores do we have left in our tribe's storage? The elder replied, We've already used them all. However, the energy in the Azure Dragon realm is still very rich. We probably don't need any more energy. Qing Longzi shook his head. They haven't come out yet, so I'm not sure. How about this? I'll take out everything I've collected over the years. It's a waste if we don't use them anyway. Those descendants of mine are really too disappointing. When Qing Longzi said this, the elders opened their eyes wide in shock. This was because Qing Longzi was famous for being stingy in the dragon tribe. Since this stingy fellow took out his collection, the elders could not help but express their gratitude. A moment later, all the elders decided to take out all of their collections. For the sake of fairness, they stayed in the palace and took out their jade tablets for their subordinates to retrieve. Soon, the Azure Dragon Palace was filled with pills and beast cores. At this time, Qing Longzi and the elders suddenly realized that the Azure Dragon Tribe's storage was nothing compared to their collection. The pills were all supreme grade. The beast cores were all of the highest grade. The energy released by these pills and beast cores was more than 10 times the previous consumption. Looking at the good stuff piled up like a mountain in front of him, Qing Longzi did not know whether to laugh or cry. This is too much. Why don't we all take back a portion? One of the elders suggested. At this time, many elders regretted it, feeling like they were cheated. Hence, an elder suggested. Qing Longzi sneered in his heart and was silent for a moment before saying, How about this? Send it over first, take out 1/10 of it, and melt it. If Yang Tian and Xiao Long don't need it, then everyone could take it back. This suggestion, there was naturally no way to object. Prepare to explode tomorrow. Chapter 895. After a hearty meal of barbecued meat and tidied up, Yang Tian began the final fusion. For this fusion, the strange program had calculated thousands of times and obtained the same result. An unbelievably powerful energy was produced. Of course, the strange program's calculation was only a theory. There was still a gap between it and the actual fusion of energy. Under the control of Yang Tian's mind, the trace of insect tribe power was divided into 3, the light red bloodline power, the light blue spatial power, and the light green temporal power. It was impossible to directly fuse the insect tribe power with the origin power. However, it was much easier to fuse the 3 powers into the origin power to produce a new power. This was a slow process, and it also required the cooperation of mind power and rune power. In the original realm, Yang Tian had already used his mind power to open up a separate space. The fusion process was carried out in this space. In this local space, a ball of origin power gathered into a ball under Yang Tian's mind. The 3 types of energy that were broken down by the insect tribe power entered the local space formed by mind power under Yang Tian's mind and formed 3 energy balls to Yang Tian. He had finally completed the first step. Next was the most crucial moment. Under the control of the strange program, tens of thousands of small particles formed by rune energy slowly entered the local space formed by mind power. Countless small particles of rune energy formed a complex rune array. Yang Tian calmed his excitement. With a thought, the local space formed by mind power began to compress and shrink continuously. This was also a slow process. The smaller the local space formed by mind power, the greater the rebound force. Yang Tian kept increasing his mind power. After an unknown amount of time, this local space formed by mind power was compressed into an extremely small point. Boom! Suddenly, there was a loud noise. This point exploded, producing an extremely powerful force. If Yang Tian did not have the black hole chain in his original realm, Yang Tian would not dare to do this at all. This was because the energy produced by the explosion could easily shatter the original realm. When the energy from the explosion spread out, the black hole chain formed by the 12 black holes began to operate at high speed, absorbing the spreading energy. At this time, Yang Tian's origin realm was like a universe. Under the impact of the energy, the planets made of energy shattered one by one and turned into invisible energy in an instant. Yang Tian gritted his teeth nervously. If the energy from this explosion caused the original realm to burst, it would directly endanger his life. Every time a cultivator tried to cultivate, they were gambling with their lives. Most cultivators didn't dare to take risks, so they spent their lives in mediocrity. The remaining few dared to give it a try, but most of these cultivators paid with their lives. Most of the energy absorbed by the black hole was expelled from the original realm. At this time, with Yang Tian as the center, the frenzy's airflow was generated. Soon, a hurricane swept through the entire Azure Dragon realm. This process did not last long, because the time in the Azure Dragon territory was 100 times faster than outside. For the symbol masters guarding the Azure Dragon territory outside, it was only a short moment. The black hole chain finally calmed the energy in the original realm. The point of the previous explosion reappeared, emitting a bright light like a shining star. As soon as it appeared, it began to madly absorb energy. It grew bigger and bigger, forming a glowing sphere. However, as it continued to change, the light became weaker and weaker. He finally succeeded. At this time, Yang Tian wanted to laugh wildly to vent his excitement. However, the next moment was also a critical moment. If he became complacent at this time, all his previous efforts would be in vain. Under the control of Yang Tian's mind, the black hole chain began to reverse, madly absorbing energy from the outside world. At this time, the more energy it absorbed, the better it was for Yang Tian. The glowing sphere grew bigger and bigger, gradually becoming translucent. Soon, it completely disappeared. Only Yang Tian knew that this sphere had not disappeared. Instead, it had merged with the entire original realm. In the Azure Dragon territory, Yang Tian madly absorbed energy. The rich energy became scarce again. When the symbol masters guarding the Azure Dragon territory outside discovered this change, they felt very helpless. This was because the pills and beast cores used to replenish the Azure Dragon territory's energy had all been used up. Just as the symbol masters were about to close the Azure Dragon territory, the door opened and a large number of beast cores and pills were transported in. Not long after, the energy in the Azure Dragon territory was almost completely depleted. Yang Tian was about to stop the process of absorbing energy and complete the final step of fusing the insect origin realm with the original realm. Unexpectedly, the energy in the Azure Dragon territory increased again. It was replenishing energy outside. Yang Tian was overjoyed and began to madly absorb energy again. With sufficient energy again, the little blue dragon naturally did not hold back. Under Yang Tian's reminder, it opened its mouth again, and energy surged into its mouth like a tide. This process continued for a long time. Another few years passed in the Azure Dragon territory. In the outside world, only a few months had passed. In these few months, the secret stash that Azure Dragon's son and the elders had taken out was all sent into the furnace by the symbol masters. Seeing the last beast core being thrown into the furnace, Azure Dragon's son laughed heartily. The elders, on the other hand, had very complicated expressions on their faces. In the eyes of these elders, Yang Tian and the little blue dragon had become the monsters of a dragon clan. When they discovered that the energy in the Azure Dragon territory had significantly weakened again, Yang Tian and the little blue dragon finally stopped. "Merge," Yang Tian shouted softly. In his body, the insect origin realm and the original realm closed the distance and finally collided together. There was no explosion or conflict. The two worlds merged into one and turned into a new energy world. Yang Tian still called it the original realm. In the original realm, the black hole chain still existed, but the origin power that existed in this world had disappeared. The insect clan's power had also disappeared. In the entire original realm, another kind of strange energy was formed. Yang Tian called this energy the fusing power because its attributes were simply too terrifying. Through the calculations of a strange program, this energy could fuse any other energy with the same quantity and proportion. These other energies included the bloodline powers of humans, beasts, and insects, as well as the power of space, time, and runes. When the two worlds merged together, a circular golden mark appeared between Yang Tian's eyebrows. In the middle of this mark, there were dragon patterns, insect patterns, and strange symbols. It looked extremely chaotic. Even when Yang Tian opened his eyes and calmed the energy in his body, this mark was still there. It was the divine spark realm. Yang Tian took out a mirror and looked at himself in the mirror. He smiled slightly and then wiped his forehead. The strange mark disappeared. Chapter 896. The Azure Dragon Realm was closed. Yang Tian and the little blue dragon once again returned to the Azure Dragon Hall. Inside the hall, there were still faces that Yang Tian was familiar with. It was the chief, Qing Longzi, and dozens of Azure Dragon elders. When Yang Tian bowed to Qing Longzi, an invisible strand of spiritual energy was emitted from him. It circled around the elders and Qing Longzi before returning to Yang Tian's body. Yang Tian catch. Yang Tian had just straightened up when Qing Longzi suddenly shouted and threw a black object toward Yang Tian. Whoosh! With a whistling sound, the black object carried Qing Longzi's power and smashed toward Yang Tian's chest. Clearly, this was a test. The corner of Yang Tian's mouth curled up as he raised his right hand and grabbed the item. Yang Tian opened his hand and saw that it was a piece of black jade, an ordinary piece of black jade. However, it carried the powerful strength of Qing Longzi, so it was not ordinary. Qing Longzi had done the same thing in this hall before. None of the Azure Dragons who came out of the Azure Dragon territory could catch it steadily. However, Yang Tian did it. He did it better than Qing Longzi himself. Seeing that Yang Tian caught the black jade steadily and his arm did not even tremble, Qing Longzi smiled happily. This time, the Azure Dragons must get the position of the Dragon Ancestor. They did not want to be suppressed again. If the position of the Dragon Ancestor fell into the hands of other dragons, they would be suppressed even more. They would have to leave this beautiful place and wander in the sea of stars. Yang Tian and the little blue dragon left the Azure Dragon Hall and returned to their residence. Xiaolong, those old men are quite powerful, especially Qing Longzi. He already has a demigod persona. Unfortunately, he doesn't have long to live, and those elders as well. After returning to their residence, Yang Tian told the little blue dragon about the results of his investigation with his spiritual energy. Qing Longzi and the other elders had a layer of invisible energy flowing around them to prevent their aura from leaking out. However, Yang Tian's spiritual energy easily penetrated it. That was because the spiritual energy carried Yang Tian's newly synthesized fusing power. This was also an experiment. The result made Yang Tian very satisfied with the fusing power. It was not a waste of time and energy. He even gambled with his life. Since Yang Tian was happy, the little blue dragon was happy as well. The man and the dragon ate the barbecue. In fact, the simple taste of barbecue could not attract the little blue dragon. What the little blue dragon ate was reminiscing about the days in the forest with Yang. Yang Tian was naturally the same. After spending a few days leisurely, Yang Tian received a document from Qing Longzi. In the document, there was a detailed introduction of Yang Tian and the little blue dragon's competitors. The black dragons Taiyu, the golden dragons Gu, the white dragons Baikong, the yellow dragons Huang Li, the purple dragons Hua Wei, and so on. Yang Tian read the document once and threw it aside. He smiled at the little blue dragon and said, "Xiaolong, this time we can definitely do it." The little blue dragon nodded silently. Since coming to the dragon territory, the little blue dragon did not seem as lively as before. Yang Tian understood the little blue dragon's current mood very well. If it were him, perhaps he would not be as calm as the little blue dragon. Although there was a lot of information about the competitors, the competition process was not clearly explained. Qing Longzi only used one word to summarize it, and that was cruel. Only a small portion of the dragons who participated in the competition could survive. The current black dragon ancestor had his vitality damaged in the previous competition, and his lifespan was reduced by more than half under normal circumstances. In order to take revenge, the black dragon ancestor would set up the competition environment even worse. Dragons were creatures with strong vengeance, and the dragon ancestor was no exception. More than 10 days later, the various dragon clans finally received the notice that the competition for the position of the dragon ancestor had begun. Yang Tian, Xiaolong, you must succeed. The future of our green dragon tribe depends on the two of you. Standing at the teleportation platform, Qing Longzi patted Yang Tian's shoulder and said lightly. Yang Tian and the little blue dragon nodded. When the blue light in front of them disappeared, Yang Tian and the little blue dragon had already arrived in a spacious hall. This was the central hall of the dragon territory, the place where the dragon ancestor handled matters in the tribe. When Yang Tian and the little blue dragon arrived, there were already dragons sent by various dragon clans to participate in the competition. Yang Tian glanced around, and his gaze paused on 5 people. These 5 people were Tai Yu of the Black Dragon Tribe, Gu Yi of the Golden Dragon Tribe, Bai Kong of the White Dragon Tribe, Huang Li of the Yellow Dragon Tribe, and Hua Wei of the Purple Dragon Tribe. Tai Yu was dressed in a black robe. He was tall and had long hair. He was extraordinarily handsome, and his entire body emitted a mysterious aura. His handsome face was full of confidence. Yang Tian believed that Tai Yu would definitely be taken care of by the dragon ancestor. Gu Yi of the Golden Dragon Tribe was dressed in golden armor and looked extremely noble. Bai Kong of the White Dragon Tribe was thin and looked sickly. He looked like a human scholar, and he waved a folding fan in his hand. Huang Li of the Yellow Dragon Tribe was actually an old man in his 50s. He was dressed like a human Taoist, and his yellow robe was embroidered with patterns similar to the 8 trigrams. Hua Wei of the Purple Dragon Tribe was a young woman in a purple dress, and she looked extremely charming. According to the information provided by Qing Longzi, these 5 people were the strongest in the younger generation of the dragon tribe. If Yang Tian and the little blue dragon weren't there, the next dragon ancestor would definitely be one of these 5 people. As for the other dragons, none of them could avoid attracting Yang Tian's attention. Cough, cough, cough. Not long after, a series of hoarse and aged coughs resounded in the central hall. The black-robed dragon ancestor slowly walked over with the help of 2 dragonesses. This old man is quite good at acting. After Yang Tian saw the dragon ancestor, he sneered coldly in his heart. With Yang Tian's current realm, he could see through the dragon ancestor's current physical condition very easily. Although this old man appeared sickly, looking like he might collapse at any time, the energy in his body was extremely abundant. However, the energy in his body was incomparably abundant, and even Qing Longzi could not compare to it. He looked like he might die at any time, but in reality, living for several decades should not be a problem. Paying respects to the dragon ancestor, everyone bowed toward the dragon ancestor in unison. The dragon ancestor raised his hand and said coolly, "No need to be overly courteous. I won't say any more. Whoever can live to the end will be the next dragon ancestor. The talisman array is already activated. Set off." Finished talking, the dragon ancestor waved his hand. Everyone bowed again and walked toward an activated transmission array platform not far away. The total number of dragons participating in the competition this time was only slightly over 100. Among them, the one with the least number was the Azure Dragon Tribe. The Azure Dragon Tribe only sent Yang Tian and the Little Blue Dragon, while the other dragon clans had at least 10 and above. Because there was only Yang Tian and the Little Blue Dragon, they were particularly eye-catching. Their gazes when looking at Yang Tian and the Little Blue Dragon were all incomparably cold. Yang Tian glanced at the dragon ancestor who was hunched over and pretending to be a dead person, then swept a glance at the activated transmission array platform in front and said to the Little Blue Dragon, "Xiaolong, why don't we finish them all off in one go?" The Little Blue Dragon nodded his head heavily. Yang Tian's voice was not loud, but it transmitted out clearly. The entire central hall suddenly quieted down. Chapter 897. Kill them all in one go. What was the meaning of this? Whether it was the dragons participating in the competition or the dragon ancestor, they were all stunned. Their eyes were all focused on Yang Tian. How arrogant! Taiyu of the Black Dragon tribe reacted a moment later and sneered. He then turned around and walked into the teleportation formation. No one was more confident than Taiyu in this competition. Just as Taiyu disappeared into the teleportation formation, a faint voice was heard from the formation. Yang Tian, I'll wait for you over there. After Taiyu left, the other dragons stepped into the formation one after another. Yang Tian was the last to enter the formation. When Yang Tian disappeared into the formation, the dragon ancestors' eyes flashed with murderous intent. In the dragon realm, the process of selecting a new dragon ancestor was a grand occasion. A huge blue ball of light appeared above the central hall. It displayed the scene of this competition. At this time, as long as one stood at a high place, they could clearly see the entire process of the competition. Many dragons transformed back to their original forms and flew toward the huge blue ball of light, gathering around it. Soon, a faint red world appeared in the blue ball of light. The ground was filled with huge insects. The insect tribe, when they saw the scene displayed in the ball of light, whether it was the dragons or the humans living in the dragon realm, all of them widened their eyes in shock. They had never imagined that the dragon ancestor would arrange such a competitive environment. Soon, the dragon ancestor's ancient voice rang out in this insect-filled world. This is an insectoid island that has been passed down since ancient times. There are 1,200 king insectoids here. In one of the underground spaces, there's an insectoid ancestor sleeping. Kill it and obtain the insect core in its body. You can activate a talisman formation I left there and obtain the insect ancestor's power. As soon as the dragon ancestor finished speaking, Qing Longzi angrily broke the scepter in his hand and gritted his teeth. This old man deserves to die. Xiaolong, did you hear that? This is the insect tribe's territory. Isn't this home for us? After Yang Tian finished speaking, he chuckled. After hearing Yang Tian's words, many dragons couldn't help but look at Yang Tian in surprise. They didn't understand what Yang Tian was talking about. Yang Tian glanced around. As expected, the Grand Imperial of the Black Dragon tribe and a dozen other members of the Black Dragon tribe were gone. Very clearly, they had long received the dragon ancestor's hint. As for the other members of the dragon race, they had to search for that insect ancestor themselves. Ha ha! At this moment, the bug that had been lying there motionless suddenly began to move slowly. It wasn't just this bug. The other bugs in the surroundings also began to wake up. Every bug here was extremely large. There were bugs that were shaped like centipedes that were more than 20 meters long. There were also bugs that were shaped like spiders that were as big as houses and weighed thousands of tons. There were also bugs that were lying on the cliff that were shaped like mantises. These were all high-level bugs. Although there was a difference in combat strength compared to the Insect King, it wasn't by much. If all of them were to wake up, even a dragon with a demigod personality like Qing Longzi would most likely die here. Here, no one knew the bugs better than Yang Tian. The dragon ancestor, that old fart, wants us all to die here, Yang Tian said with a smile. The blue ball of light above the central hall not only showed the situation on Insect Island, but could also capture sound. Yang Tian's words echoed throughout the entire dragon field. In the central hall, the black-robed dragon ancestor tightened his grip on the armrest of his chair. This was because he was angry. Ever since he was born, he had never met anyone who dared to call him an old fart, especially when he was about to die. Old bastard. These 3 words were like 3 knives, stabbing his heart mercilessly. Dragons, listen up. Yang Tian has looked down on me. Whoever kills him will be able to obtain the map to the underground space. The dragon ancestor's voice once again echoed throughout Insect Island. Ha ha! As soon as the dragon ancestor finished his words, Yang Tian could not help but laugh out loud. The 100 dragons that flew into the sky were originally going to deal with the bugs that had yet to wake up. Now that they had received the dragon ancestors' promise, they all circled around in the sky and pounced toward Yang Tian. The little blue dragon jumped up from Yang Tian's shoulder and instantly transformed into a huge dragon. The reason it was huge was because the little blue dragon was twice the size of the other dragons. Its body was 300 meters long. Roar! The little blue dragon let out a furious roar as it faced the dozens of dragons that were charging toward it. Then, it swung its tail and charged toward them. Xiaolong, you can do it! Kill them all! Yang Tian shouted as he waved his fist excitedly. Only Yang Tian knew that the little blue dragon had absorbed the same amount of energy as he did in the green dragon's den compared to the other green dragons. The little blue dragon had one more thing, and that was the leaves from the world tree. That was why it was able to continuously absorb energy and would not die from overeating. In the 100 years that it had spent in the green dragon's den, the little blue dragon had consumed all of the world tree's leaves that it had brought with it. The life force of the world tree and the energy that the little blue dragon had absorbed had caused the little blue dragon's physical body to become extremely powerful. Despite its huge size, the little blue dragon's speed was not slow at all compared to the other dragons. One of the red dragons could not dodge in time and was bitten on the neck by the little blue dragon. With a crack, the red dragon's neck was bitten off by the little blue dragon before it could even scream. At the same time, more than 10 dragons of different colors surrounded the little blue dragon. They opened their mouths and bit the little blue dragon. The little blue dragon was in pain. It shook its head violently and flung the red dragon in its mouth away. It crashed onto the ground with a bang. A large spider that had just woken up jumped onto the dead red dragon and started tearing it apart with its pincers. More than 10 dragons bit the little blue dragon. Although the little blue dragon was in pain, they did not bite through the scales on the little blue dragon's body. The little blue dragon swung its tail and smashed the head of a white dragon into pieces. It stretched out one of its hind claws and grabbed the waist of a yellow dragon. With a tug, it split the dragon into two. At this moment, if the little blue dragon had ignited the dragon flames on its body, the damage would have been even greater. However, this fellow chose to engage in close combat and used incomparably bloody methods to kill. It was a one-sided slaughter. The other dragons could not hurt the little blue dragon at all. On the other hand, the little blue dragon only needed to move its mouth or claws to kill a dragon. The blue ball of light above the central hall faithfully recorded everything that happened on Insect Island. For a moment, the cries of the dragons echoed throughout the entire Dragon's Denver. The bloody scene caused all the dragons and humans who saw this scene to widen their eyes in shock. Their hearts beat rapidly. Chapter 898. The little blue dragon had successfully attracted Yang Tian's attention. Yang Tian, who was watching from below, could feel his blood boiling. However, there were still some dragons that turned their attention to Yang Tian. The black dragons had disappeared. Clearly, they had received a hint from the dragon ancestor and had gone to the underground space to look for the insect ancestor. If they dared to go, they must have a way to deal with the insect ancestor. Among the dragons that were still here, there were 4 of them that were the most powerful. They were the Golden Dragon Clan's Gu Yi, the White Dragon Clan's Bai Kong, the Yellow Dragon Clan's Huang Li, and the Purple Dragon Clan's Huawei. These 4 dragons did not fight with the little blue dragon. As elites, they had to stay calm. Just as Yang Tian was enjoying the show, a gigantic white dragon circled in the air and pounced at Yang Tian. It opened its dragon claws and slapped at Yang Tian. Looking at the white dragon's posture, it wanted to turn Yang Tian into a meat patty with its claws. This powerful white dragon was the White Dragon Clan's Bai Kong. Facing the dragon claws, Yang Tian clenched his right hand into a fist, bent to the left, and punched out. Pung! There was a loud noise. Bai Kong's gigantic body suddenly bounced up and rolled in the air before landing heavily on the ground. Roar! After crawling up, Bai Kong raised his head and let out a shrill scream into the air. Then, he kept his head up and did not move at all. It was as if he had been petrified. Not far away, an insect that looked like a praying mantis crawled toward Bai Kong and used its front limbs to touch Bai Kong's dragon claws. With a boom, Bai Kong's gigantic body shattered into a pile of white powder. At this time, Yang Tian finally pulled back his fist. This was the first time Yang Tian had used his harmonizing power. The result shocked even himself. Bai Kong's cells, including the water in his body, were all disintegrated. Even his spirit body was shattered. Compared to the little blue dragon's bloody punch, Yang Tian's punch was clean and efficient. However, the horror of this punch was deeply imprinted in the hearts of all the spectators. Even the dragon ancestor couldn't help but be shocked. The power of the punch made the other dragons dispel the idea of killing Yang Tian. In the sky, the little blue dragon became more and more courageous as it fought. In less than 10 minutes, it had torn apart more than 20 dragons and turned them into food for the insects on ground. Gu Yi of the Golden Dragon Clan, Huang Li of the Yellow Dragon Clan, and Huawei of the Purple Dragon Clan looked at each other in the sky, then turned around and flew in 3 different directions. The remaining dozens of dragons were already terrified and fled in all directions. The little blue dragon was in a murderous mood. How could it let these dragons escape? It swung its tail and chased after the purple dragons. When the purple dragons behind Huawei saw the little blue dragon chasing after it, they immediately scattered in all directions. They were afraid that the little blue dragon would target them. The little blue dragon was much faster than Huawei. In a few breaths, it caught up with Huawei and bit Huawei's dragon tail. Huawei turned around angrily and let out a roar. It bit the little blue dragon's neck. At the same time, purple dragon flames rose from its body. The little blue dragon shook its huge head and clasped Huawei's body with its 2 front claws. Looking at Huawei, who was close at hand, the little blue dragon wanted to tear its neck apart. However, it paused because it smelled the scent of a female dragon. It was like a human seeing a beauty. Yang Tian couldn't help but turn his head. He was too embarrassed to look anymore. The little blue dragon bit Huawei's neck. Its body shrank to a size slightly larger than Huawei's and entangled with Huawei's body. A strange energy was emitted from the little blue dragon. The surrounding water vapor condensed, and it soon started to rain. When one looked up at the sky again, they could only see a blur. Seeing this scene, Zilongzi, the patriarch of the Purple Dragon tribe, really turned purple. Huawei was his daughter, the #1 beauty of the dragon tribe. She was incomparably noble. She was actually forced on by the little blue dragon, just like that. It was even live-streamed. He had lost all his face. A wave of cries sounded. The unmarried young dragons of the Purple Dragon tribe were heartbroken. In the rain, Yang Tian sat down cross-legged. The water droplets falling from the sky automatically separated, causing the area around him to be dry. In the sky, other than the entangled little blue dragon and the purple dragon Huawei, the other dragons had all run away. Soon, everyone discovered a strange thing. That was, the awakened insects didn't dare to approach within 500 meters of Yang Tian. One must know that insects were not intelligent and mostly relied on instinct to act. Within 500 meters of Yang Tian, there were many dragon corpses. The insects with strong appetites, even if driven by instinct, did not dare to enter this range to eat. The little blue dragon's combat power was strong. It tossed the purple dragon for 2 hours before it stopped. The weakened purple dragon fell from the sky and crashed heavily not far from Yang Tian. The little blue dragon turned back into a mini dragon and landed on Yang Tian's shoulder. This guy didn't even look at the purple dragon. After eating and wiping it clean, it didn't know how to have tender feelings for the fairer sex at all. The purple dragon looked at the satisfied little blue dragon and let out a low cry. It sounded like it was crying. Yang Tian sent little green flying with a slap. The little blue dragon could only land on the purple dragon's head. The purple dragon's dragon mane was soft and had a nice fragrance. It was much more comfortable than Yang Tian's shoulder. This guy yawned and closed his eyes to rest. Compared to killing more than 20 dragons, Doing it with the purple dragon consumed more energy. The dragon tribe respected the strong. Previously, the little blue dragon ignored the purple dragon Huawei and made her very sad. Now that the little blue dragon was stepping on her head, the female dragon immediately became happy. Yang Tian turned his head and glanced at Huawei's satisfied expression. He shook his head slightly and closed his eyes. What are they doing? Why do they stop there? Have they given up? Seeing this situation, many dragons in the dragon domain guessed. When Qing Longzi saw this, he gritted his teeth so hard that they creaked. He thought that Yang Tian and the little blue dragon had given up on fighting for the position of the dragon ancestor. What they didn't know was that there were no secrets on Insect Island to Yang Tian. Through the vision of the other insects, Yang Tian already knew where Taiyu was. This fellow led 11 dragons of the same race, transformed into human form, and entered the underground tunnel. This tunnel was dozens of meters in diameter and curved downward. As Taiyu and his group moved forward, they would occasionally encounter awakened king insects. The dragon ancestor had indeed given Taiyu a powerful rune treasure. It was something like a mirror. When facing the king insects couldn't move. Taiyu's 11 subordinates immediately dug out the insect core from the king insects. Yang Tian observed carefully and soon found that all the king insects killed by Taiyu had runes carved on their shells. Chapter 899. Why were there runes on the insect's shell? Clearly, this was premeditated. The dragon ancestor's goal was to let the black dragons take over. With Taiyu's group speed, they would reach the underground space at the end of the tunnel in less than half an hour. There was a huge insect that looked like a praying mantis. It was 100 meters long and was bronze in color. It looked like a robot insect made of metal. This was the insect ancestor. It was 2 levels higher than the insect king that Yang Tian saw last time. If Taiyu could obtain the insect ancestor's power, his strength would increase by several levels. Of course, it was impossible for Taiyu to digest the insect ancestor's power by himself. He would need a talisman formation. The tunnel to the underground space was hidden. The entire underground space was filled with talisman formations. It was difficult to break through. Other than Taiyu of the Black Dragons, this competition was just a formality for the other dragons. At the same time, they would have to face the attacks of countless insects on Insect Island. Good plan. Then I'll make sure your efforts are in vain. Yang Tian opened his eyes. The corner of his lips curled as he sneered. A moment later, Yang Tian closed his eyes again and lowered his head slightly. His long black hair spread out and covered his face, preventing others from seeing the strange mark that appeared between his brows. Waves of invisible energy rippled out from Yang Tian's body and spread across the entire Insect Island. Soon, all the awakened insect kings stopped moving. The insects around Yang Tian also moved away. The insect tribe's energy was very special. It could be gathered from a long distance. At this time, the insect kings received Yang Tian's order. They began to transfer their energy to Yang Tian, including the sleeping insect ancestor. Taiyu's group finally arrived at the underground space. Looking at the huge insect before him, Taiyu laughed excitedly. As long as he could obtain the insect ancestor's power, he could become the next dragon ancestor. By then, the green dragon tribe would continue to be suppressed and disappear from the dragon tribe. Also, the dragon field was too small. As a noble dragon, he could not always stay in the dragon field. All the beasts in the universe should submit to him. There was also the divine realm. Those deities had occupied the divine realm for too long. They didn't need to do anything and enjoyed endless lifespans. The current dragon ancestor was too conservative. The excited Taiyu fantasized about what would happen after he became the dragon ancestor. Taiyu hadn't expected that the insect progenitor, who had been sealed by a glyph array and hadn't moved at all, was rapidly transferring its energy. After merging the insect origin world and the origin realm into one and creating the harmonizing force, Yang Tian's energy requirement was close to the immeasurable realm. Forget about the energy of one insect progenitor. Even if there were 10 more of them, his energy world would be able to accommodate them. Yang Tian had taken a long time to absorb the king beetle's energy because his level was not high enough and his body's capacity for energy was limited. However, it was different now. Being close to the boundless realm allowed the insect ancestor's energy to be transferred rapidly. In just over 10 minutes, the insect ancestor's insect core had shrunk by 1/5. Cough, cough. Taiyu stared blankly at the insect ancestor's huge body as if he was mesmerized. After a long time, one of his subordinates could not help but cough twice. Taiyu came to his senses and waved his hand. Go and dig out the insect core. It's in its chest. Remember not to destroy the glyph array on its body. If the glyph array on its body is destroyed and it wakes up, none of us will be able to leave alive. The 11 subordinates responded and got to work. Yang Tian's energy absorption speed was getting faster and faster. Thousands of king beetles that were still alive had already transferred their energy to Yang Tian. The insect ancestor's insect core had shrunk by 1/3. The insect ancestor's shell was very hard. The black dragon race's tools could only leave a shallow dent on its surface. It took half an hour for a bowl-sized hole to appear. Taiyu stood under the insect ancestor's body. His right hand transformed into a dragon claw. He jumped up and reached his dragon claw into the insect ancestor's chest. After a long time, he finally managed to grab something that looked like an insect core. He took it out and saw that it was a light blue crystal. It was not even the size of an adult's fist, and its color did not match what the dragon ancestor had described. But the ripple of energy coming from the crystal meant that it was the insect ancestor's insect core. This is not possible. Taiyu's eyes were wide open. He could not believe it. After being stunned for a moment, Taiyu roared and jumped up again. He stuck his body close to the insect ancestor's abdomen and used his dragon claws to dig into the insect ancestor's chest. The insect ancestor's organs were also crushed. With nothing to show for it, Taiyu used his dragon claw to destroy the glyph array on the insect ancestor. As soon as the glyph array that sealed the insect ancestor was broken, it woke up. It spat out a mouthful of green liquid. It only moved a little before it stopped moving. The insect ancestor had lost all of its energy and its organs were destroyed. The insect ancestor's physical body was dead. It was not just the physical body. The insect ancestor's spiritual body was gone as well. The spiritual body that was left in the corpse could not harm Taiyu. The insect ancestor was not someone to be trifled with. When Yang Tian was forcefully absorbing its energy, it used that energy to enter Yang Tian's body. It thought that it could take over Yang Tian's body. But to its surprise, Yang Tian's world of energy was filled with the harmonizing power. The insect ancestor's spiritual body could not even react before it was dissolved and absorbed along with its energy. This might be the most tragic insect ancestor in the history of the insectoids. First, it was sealed and then its energy was absorbed by Yang Tian. Not even its spiritual body could survive. This is not possible. This is not possible. Taiyu's eyes were wide open as he stared at the insect ancestor's body. He could not believe what he was seeing. When he saw the insect ancestor, he began to dream about what it would be like after he became the dragon ancestor. The greater the hope, the greater the disappointment. The more beautiful the dream, the more painful it would be when it could not be achieved. Without the insect ancestor's power, Taiyu would not be able to become the next dragon ancestor. What's going on? Have I been deceived by the dragon ancestor? The more Taiyu thought about it, the more he felt that it was possible. That was because other than him and his subordinates, no other dragons had been here before. That must be it. Taiyu confirmed his thoughts. He suddenly looked up and roared at the ceiling. Dragon ancestor, you lied to me. He serves you right. Using the senses of a low-level insect, Yang Tian sneered when he saw this. You're very proud of yourself, aren't you? Suddenly, an old voice sounded behind Yang Tian. Yang Tian maintained his cross-legged posture without moving. He smirked and said calmly, "Old fart, you're finally here." Chapter 900. Old Fart. The corner of the dragon ancestor's eyes twitched when he heard those words. He stared at Yang Tian's back and said in a deep voice, "Little guy, you are the most arrogant human I have ever seen." Yang Tian stood up and turned around. He looked at Dragon Ancestor with a smile and said indifferently, "Thank you for your praise." Yang Tian was not surprised that the Dragon Ancestor could see through his soul. This was because the Dragon Ancestor had a clan monument, a mysterious runic treasure. At this time, the Dragon Ancestor was carrying the clan monument. It was hanging on the Dragon Ancestor's waist. It was a 9-color plate about the size of a palm and emitted an extremely weak runic energy fluctuation. If the strange program was not extremely sensitive to runic energy, it would not be able to tell that this small plate was actually the Dragon Clan's treasure, the Dragon Clan monument. The strange program had already left Yang Tian's body and attached itself to the clan monument. As long as the strange program was given time, it would be able to record the runic array on the clan monument. Even if the clan monument was destroyed in the future, it would be able to replicate it. This clan monument was simply too important to the little blue dragon. At this time, Yang Tian needed to buy time for the strange program. Fortunately, the Dragon Ancestor did not notice the strange program's actions. When the Dragon Ancestor saw the smile on Yang Tian's face, his expression became even colder, and the aura emitted from his body became even sharper. The little blue dragon transformed into a huge dragon and coldly stared at the Dragon Ancestor, letting out a low roar. The Dragon Ancestor looked at the little blue dragon, raised the black scepter in his hand, and pointed it at the little blue dragon's head. He said indifferently, "Little guy, you are a pure dragon, but you don't know how to respect this old man." This action seemed slow and powerless. Only Yang Tian and the little blue dragon understood that following the Dragon Ancestor's action, the surrounding spatial energy began to compress and gather toward the point. The power of space was a special kind of energy. In the entire world, space and time were the most basic energies. They were everywhere. As long as one mastered the power of space and time, they would have an almost endless supply of energy. The Dragon Ancestor's movements seemed slow, but countless similar movements were combined together. In just an instant, the powerful spatial energy was compressed to a point and suddenly shot towards the little blue dragon's forehead. The little blue dragon's power and realm were still far from the Dragon Ancestors. Before the point touched the little blue dragon, Yang Tian flew in front of the little blue dragon and grabbed the point. Yang Tian's fusing power could fuse all kinds of energy, including the energy of space and time. However, the spatial energy gathered at this point was simply too powerful. Pump! As soon as Yang Tian grabbed the point, it exploded and shattered Yang Tian's right hand. To Yang Tian, this was just a small injury. In just a few breaths, the cells on his right hand quickly split, and it was as good as new. Seeing that Yang Tian had broken the attack that he was so proud of, the Dragon Ancestor could not help but widen his eyes in surprise. Yang Tian looked at the Dragon Ancestor's wrinkled face and landed on the ground. He smiled and said, "Old man, your temper is too big. Why don't we calm down and discuss this?" "Discuss what?" The Dragon Ancestor did not attack again and asked calmly. Yang Tian said, "You give the position of the Dragon Ancestor to Xiao Long, and we will guarantee that the Black Dragon race will be treated equally among the Dragon race. How about it? Do you think that I will believe you?" The Dragon Ancestor sneered. "When I was fighting for the position of the Dragon Ancestor, I said the same to the other competitors. But after that, I killed all of them." "You're honest." Yang Tian smiled and said, "In a race, internal strife is not completely without benefits. This way, everyone will have a sense of crisis and will not fall. Actually, it's the same whether you agree or not. Even if we can't beat you, Xiao Long and I can also escape. After you die, we'll come back and slaughter the Black Dragon race clean." Yang Tian's words seemed very calm, but it was filled with killing intent. Facing Yang Tian's threat, the Dragon Ancestor smiled and said, "Want to escape from my hands? You guys can't." Finished speaking, The dragon ancestor raised his scepter again. Wait a minute. Yang Zai hurriedly raised his hand to stop him. What else do you have to say? The dragon ancestor's eyes flashed as he asked. Yang Tian smiled and said, Actually, me talking so much nonsense with you is actually stalling for time. Old fart, you're dead meat now. Before Yang Tian could finish his words, the dragon ancestor could no longer suppress his anger. He raised his hand and slapped toward Yang Tian. Yang Tian narrowed his eyes and met the attack with a punch. Boom! There was a loud explosion. Yang Tian's fist collided with the dragon ancestor's palm. The collision caused the surrounding space to shatter and form spatial annihilation. The spatial annihilation's energy was very powerful. It spread out in all directions at lightning speed. Yang Tian's mind moved, and his powerful spirit exploded. He sent the little blue dragon and the purple dragon next to him far away. A powerful harmonizing power exploded from his body and controlled the spatial annihilation's range to a few hundred meters. Once the spatial annihilation was stopped, it would immediately stop. When it disappeared, everything within a few hundred meters would disappear. Yang Tian and the dragon ancestor also disappeared. With Yang Tian and the dragon ancestor's realm and power, the spatial annihilation could no longer harm them. At this time, Yang Tian and the dragon ancestor were both in the endless void. There was no light, no air, and no other matter in the void. The spatial energy that formed this void was not stable. Yang Tian and the dragon ancestor were like two stars that emitted powerful light. Yang Tian's body emitted a green light, while the dragon ancestor's body emitted a red light. The distance between the two could not be estimated in this void. Perhaps they were very close, perhaps they were a few kilometers, a few thousand miles, or even a few light years away. Kid, you're the second opponent that forced me to fight in my true form. The dragon ancestor said calmly as he looked at Yang Tian expressionlessly while holding his scepter. After he finished speaking, he transformed into a gigantic bronze dragon. His entire body emitted an ancient aura, as if he was a dragon that flew out from ancient myths. He was so big that Yang Tian was like a tiny speck of dust compared to him. Ordinary creatures would not even be able to see his full appearance. Could a human use his finger to crush a speck of dust that could only be seen in the subtle realm? That was obviously impossible. Then, with the dragon ancestor's size, could he attack Yang Tian, who was like a speck of dust compared to him? The answer was yes. This was because this was not a matter of size in the ordinary sense. This included the use of spatial energy. The larger the dragon ancestor occupied more space, which also meant that he could use more spatial energy. Previously, when he was still the size of an ordinary human, the spatial energy he gathered was enough to explode Yang Tian's palm. Now that he was so big, the spatial energy he gathered was countless times more than before. Chapter 901. Your previous opponent was the Zhaoji Wang, right? Yang Tian asked with a smile as he looked at the ancestor dragon's gigantic body. The ancestor dragon did not answer Yang Tian, which meant that he had admitted to it. Soon, a gigantic dragon claw came crashing down on Yang Tian. As soon as the dragon claw moved, the space around him began to rapidly compress with Yang Tian as the center. If Yang Tian did not move, he would have to endure the terrifying power of space. With a thought, Yang Tian covered his entire body with fusing power. At this time, if the compressed space around him was like ice, then Yang Tian was like a ball of high-temperature flames. As soon as Yang Tian moved, the space around him disintegrated and formed a space tunnel. Boom! The ancestor dragon's claw came crashing down on where Yang Tian was, and the space was once again destroyed. This time, the space was many times more powerful than the previous one. Yang Tian could only dodge and could not stop it. In an instant, the space was destroyed and swept past Yang Tian and spread into the distance. At this time, Yang Tian and the ancestor dragon had once again switched to another space. It was still nothingness. The ancestor dragon had already formed a divine spark and became the dragon god. He did not use the power of the ancestral monument to use this powerful power. According to the legends, the ancestor dragon could use the ancestral monument to gather all the power of the dragon race for his own use. Although Yang Tian had formed a divine spark and had the fusing power, he did not have the confidence to defeat the ancestor dragon when he used the ancestral monument. However, Yang Tian believed that it would not be that easy for the ancestor dragon to kill him. After some calculations, the singular program could not come up with an answer as to who would win and who would lose because there were too many variables. Yang Tian wanted to transform into a dragon and use this method to fight the ancestor dragon. However, after giving it some thought, he felt that it was just asking for trouble. Compared to the ancestor dragon, his proficiency in controlling his dragon body was far inferior. In that case, he would use other methods. With a thought, the Titan armor appeared on Yang Tian's body, and the blue saber appeared in his right hand. As soon as the giant god armor was put on, Yang Tian's size grew rapidly. In an instant, he turned into a giant tens of thousands of feet tall. The blue saber in his hand also became a real giant saber. At this time, Yang Tian's height was already not much different from Dragon Ancestor. The enlarged Yang Tian exuded an aura that was no weaker than the Dragon Ancestor's. Dragon Ancestor's eyes were filled with shock. This was the first time he had seen a human who was as tall as he was. Of course, there was also a powerful strength. In this void, there was no point in comparing the sizes of Yang Tian and Dragon Ancestor when there was no point of reference. It's my turn now. Yang Tian looked at Ancestor Dragon with a smile and slashed at him. This time, Yang Tian did not use his harmonizing power. He was afraid that the harmonizing power would melt the blade if it entered the blade. Poof! Facing the giant saber, Ancestor Dragon swung his dragon tail and slapped the saber. The impact caused Yang Tian's arm to go numb, and his huge body was forced to retreat quickly. Kid, it's not just because you're big, you're strong. Dragon Ancestor Dragon's ancient voice came out from his mouth. Is that so? Yang Tian stopped and asked with a smile. He then lowered his head and looked at the blue saber in his hand. He then wiped the saber with his hand. The heavy saber immediately became thinner. The runes that were carved on the saber had disappeared and were replaced with new runes. Now he should be able to use his harmonizing power. After pushing Yang Tian back, Ancestor Dragon's body moved. The space around him began to vibrate violently, and with a boom, boundless draconic flames began to rise. The draconic flames that Ancestor Dragon unleashed were also golden in color. However, the temperature was much higher than the little blue dragon's draconic flames. Even the space around him began to vibrate rapidly from the heat. With such a powerful destructive force, not to mention an island, even a planet would be destroyed in an instant. It seemed that Ancestor Dragon had not used his full strength when he destroyed Portent Island. The harmonizing power that Yang Tian unleashed from his body was quickly being consumed by the golden draconic flames. Fortunately, he had absorbed the insectoid ancestor's draconic mass, and the energy in his body could withstand the consumption. As the space around him was vibrating violently, Ancestor Dragon's huge body was faintly discernible in Yang Tian's eyes. It was extremely difficult to grasp. At this moment, if he were to attack recklessly, he would not be able to hit Ancestor Dragon. Looking at the blue saber in his hand, Yang Tian suddenly recalled the battle skill that the giant god had learned when he was in a similar situation. Not only that, but Yang Tian's cells were also changing under such an extreme environment. This change originated from the insectoids' inheritance. The most terrifying thing about the insectoids was not their reproduction speed, but their ability to adapt to the environment. No matter how harsh the environment was, as long as the insectoids were given enough time, their body cells would change according to the environment, evolving to adapt to the new environment and growing new organs. Moreover, the stronger the insectoid, the faster it could adapt to the new environment. Yang Tian was now equivalent to an extremely powerful insectoid. especially after absorbing the insectoid ancestor's power. Yang Tian ignored the changes in his body. After comprehending the giant god's battle skill, he raised his saber and slashed at Ancestor Dragon's figure. On the blue saber, Yang Tian had engraved a new talisman array. It was a talisman array that was designed by a strange program. The saber chi released by this slash was naturally harmonizing power. Coupled with the giant god's battle skill, one could imagine the power of this slash. After the saber energy was released from the blue saber, it spread out in all directions. It rolled forward like a wave. The violent spatial fluctuations were disintegrated by the layers of saber energy. Coupled with the effect of the fusion power, it formed a void without spatial power. What did it mean to have no spatial power? Yang Tian still did not understand. He only knew that where the saber chi passed, the dragon flames disappeared completely. Ancestor Dragon's eyes were filled with shock. Without space, there was no time. When faced with this saber chi, Ancestor Dragon realized that he had an impulse to not dodge. Soon, his two dragon whiskers that were extending forward began to disappear from the ends and extended toward him. Roar! This was a crisis that Ancestor Dragon had never encountered before. He opened his mouth and let out a roar. A powerful sound wave came from Ancestor Dragon's mouth. The space in front of him once again shattered, forming a spatial passage. Before the saber chi arrived, Ancestor Dragon rushed into the spatial rift. He escaped. Seeing Ancestor Dragon disappear, Yang Tian opened his eyes wide in shock. The saber chi disappeared, and the cleared spatial energy surged in from all directions, covering the traces of Ancestor Dragon's escape. Phew! Yang Tian heaved a sigh of relief before his body moved and disappeared from the spot. When Yang Tian reappeared, he was already back on Insect Island. His body had returned to its original size, but the giant god's armor was still on him. The little blue dragon was lying on the purple dragon head, looking at Yang Tian with a questioning look. Yang Tian said helplessly, "That guy escaped, but he did not use the clan monument." With that, Yang Tian leaned on his saber and sat on the ground, feeling extremely weak. Although he had unleashed that powerful slash, Yang Tian still felt a lingering fear. That was because the slash had drained most of the energy in his body. Even the harmonizing power on the surface of his body was sucked away. If it were not for the changes in his body cells, the dragon flames that had not been completely extinguished after that slash would have seriously injured him. For Yang Tian, there was no clear victor in this battle. Chapter 902. The teleportation formation on Insect Island was shut down. Other than Yang Tian, the little blue dragon, and the purple dragon that was being bullied by the little blue dragon, the other dragons had all disappeared from Insect Island. It seemed like Dragon Ancestor wanted to trap Yang Tian and the others on Insect Island. Other than insects and rocks, there was no food or water on this island. The light ball in the central hall of Dragonfield had already shut down when Dragon Ancestor personally made a move. Only Dragon Ancestor knew the final outcome of the dragons in Dragonfield. Dragon Ancestor returned to the central hall, appearing extremely weak. He weakly announced that the next Dragon Ancestor would be Tai Yu and pass the clan steel to Tai Yu. After hastily completing the ceremony, Dragon Ancestor went into seclusion, as did Tai Yu. All the affairs of the dragon race were handed over to the elders of the Black Dragon race. In a secret chamber in the central hall, Tai Yu sat cross-legged in the middle of a glowing red formation. The clan steel had enlarged and was several meters tall. It was embedded at the edge of the formation and shone with 9 colors. Dragon Ancestor leaned on his scepter and walked around the formation slowly. Under his control, the energy in the clan steel was transferred to the formation and gathered in Tai Yu's body. Unfortunately, I can't use the clan steel with my current body. But you're different. Your body is still young and has limitless vitality. Absorb all the energy in the clan steel and you'll have the dragon divinity. The next time you meet Yang Tian, you can use the clan steel and gather all the power of the dragon race to give him a fatal blow. Dragon Ancestor walked while explaining the secret of the clan's steel. A special energy world slowly formed in Taiyu's body. Ha ha! Suddenly, a burst of laughter rang out. It was the laughter of a young woman. Ancestor Dragon opened his eyes and turned around abruptly. A young woman in a black dress appeared in front of him. There were 3 purple dots arranged in a triangle between her eyebrows. That was the sign of a divinity. The young woman had a divinity. Dragon Ancestor became alert and gripped the scepter in his hand tightly. At this moment, Taiyu was absorbing the energy in the clan's steel. It was a crucial moment, and he couldn't be disturbed. "Who are you?" Ancestor Long looked at the young lady who was walking over slowly and asked indifferently. The young woman replied, "My name is Ting Ling, the daughter of the ominous monarch." Dragon Ancestor, do you still remember the ominous monarch and the ominous island that you destroyed? The Dragon Ancestor was very familiar with the Megapode Island and the Megapode King, as that was the first time he had used the power of the clan monument. At that time, the Dragon Ancestor was still very young. Although he had destroyed Polaris Island, he had allowed Polaris King to escape with his family. His whereabouts were unknown. Ting Ling stopped when he was about 20 steps away from Ancestor Dragon. His gaze towards Ancestor Dragon grew colder and colder. Ancestor Dragon, back then, you used thousands of dragons from the Dragon Clan to exchange for my royal father's extreme omen talisman. Who would have thought that after becoming the Ancestor Dragon, you would turn your back on me? My father is not a good person, and you are even more shameless. Ha ha! The moment Ting Ling finished speaking, Ancestor Long couldn't help but laugh. This laughter was filled with bitterness. After Dragon Ancestor finished laughing, he gritted his teeth and said, "You all don't understand what status my Black Dragon clan had in the dragon race at that time. We were the most lowly of the dragon race. Even the sinful dragons of the Green Dragon clan had a higher status than us. If we could not become the Ancestor Dragon, then the Black Dragon clan would never be able to rise again. Look at how good it is now. Once Taiyu becomes the Ancestor Dragon, the Green Dragon clan, the Golden Dragon clan, all of these dragon races will disappear. Not long after, only the Black Dragon clan will be left." Ting Ling said with disdain, "I am not interested in the dragon race. I want to borrow your clan monument." "The clan monument can only be used by those with the dragon bloodline," Ancestor Dragon said calmly. "Even if you can use it, I will not give it to you." Ting Ling snorted coldly. He raised his hand and grabbed at the clan monument. With a poof, the clan monument left the array and shrunk to the size of a palm and fell into Ting Ling's hand. But Taiyu, who was cultivating, suddenly opened his eyes and spat out a mouthful of blood. He fell to the ground and twitched a few times before he stopped moving. While Ancestor Dragon was still in shock, Ting Ling looked at the Dragon Clan monument in his hand and said with a smile, "Ancestor Dragon, you might not know this, but this clan monument was created by our ancestors. Didn't you notice that it has the same function as the extreme Great Omen Talisman? The Dragon Clan monument could mobilize the power of all the dragons and gather them together. It would allow the holder to unleash a great amount of power in a short amount of time. From there, the holder would have terrifying combat ability. The extreme Great Omen Talisman had the same function. The only difference was that the process of gathering the power was different." While Ancestor Dragon was still in a confused state, Ting Ling smiled and said, "I cannot use it, but someone else can." With that, Ting Ling spread out a pair of wings and was ready to leave. "You want to leave? Not so easy." Ancestor Dragon shouted and reached for Ting Ling. With the strange program in place, it was basically impossible to control Yang Tian by cutting off the teleportation rune array. Yang Tian did not plan to leave the insect island immediately. He took out a pile of yellow stones from his storage bracelet and began to study the structure of the yellow stones. It was not so easy to duplicate the clan monument. The materials used to create the clan monument were very special. Under the activation of the array, the gaps between the molecules of the material could be big or small, causing the size of the clan monument to change accordingly. Other than that, the clan monument also had to withstand a great amount of pressure. When gathering and releasing energy, it would not collapse. With Yang Tian's current materials, it was impossible to create a complete clan monument. What Yang Tian wanted to use was not the clan monument's ability to use energy, but its ability to trace bloodlines. Although the strange program's calculation speed was very fast, it was still far from humans in terms of array design. That was because humans' thoughts were not limited by space and time. They dared to think of anything. This was the so-called imagination. With a rich imagination and array design, they could create unimaginable array designs. And that was how the Dragon Clan's clan monument was born. The strange program was also amazed by the Dragon Clan's clan monument. Even if they gave up on the clan monument's ability to gather and release energy and only carved the bloodline tracing array, the materials needed were very special. Looking at the pile of yellow stones in front of him, Yang Tian smiled and said to the little blue dragon, "Xiaolong, melt these and make them as big as possible." The little blue dragon nodded and began to order the purple dragon Huawei. Huawei had already turned back into a woman. She looked very charming. If it was Yang Tian, he would definitely not order such a beauty to do this and that. However, the little blue dragon did not have the awareness to be protective of the fairer sex. Huawei first tidied up a space with a radius of several hundred meters and burned it flat with purple dragon flames. Then, she melted the yellow stones and laid them flat on top. Chapter 903. Looking at the mirror-like yellow stone, Yang Tian inspected it with his mental power and nodded in satisfaction. The purple dragon's floral girdle immediately received praise from the little blue dragon. Yang Tian took out the runes. His figure flickered, and pieces of runes appeared on the smooth yellow stone. The speed was so fast that it was like printing with a printer. The strange program had already designed the rune array. At this time, it only needed to be displayed through Yang Tian's hands. After Yang Tian reached the full divinity realm, both his speed and accuracy were far better than before. In less than 2 hours, the thousands of runes made up of more than 1 billion runes were completed by Yang Tian. After some inspection, it was exactly the same as the design made by the strange program. Next, Yang Tian took out 99 beast cores in one go and embedded them in the rune array. Then, he used a rune pen to draw a rune energy line. With the energy, the thousands of rune arrays were activated in sequence. After a few minutes, the rune array group lit up with 9 colors. The rune array group was carved on the ground. The material used to support the rune array could not be compared to the Dragon Clan monument. After the rune array group was activated, it could not last long and was considered a one-time use item. For the little blue dragon, it only needed to be used once. Xiaolong, send your essence blood into the rune array. When the rune array lit up with 9 colors, Yang Tian immediately reminded the little blue dragon. Essence blood was different from ordinary blood. Ordinary blood was made up of blood cells, water, and other substances. Essence blood, however, contained the life force of the little blue dragon. The little blue dragon scratched its forehead with its claw, and a drop of bright red blood fell into the rune array. The essence blood floated in the rune array and suddenly dispersed, forming a red mist. For a moment, the 9-colored light emitted by the rune array was covered. After a while, an image appeared in the rune array. It was the environment of Earth in ancient times. At this time, humans had not yet appeared. Earth's environment was still relatively harsh. Countless large creatures lived. The largest number was not dinosaurs, but all kinds of strange creatures. The images flowed rapidly, and soon, 2 huge azure dragons appeared. The 2 azure dragons flew a circle in the sky and landed in a beautiful valley. One of the female dragons laid 12 golden dragon eggs that were slightly larger than goose eggs beside a pond in the valley. After giving birth, the female dragon was very weak. She wrapped her body around the dragon egg and closed her eyes to rest. The male dragon laid on the side and looked around cautiously. The 2 azure dragons in the image were undoubtedly the little blue dragon's parents. The little blue dragon's gaze moved back and forth between the two dragons in the image. It wanted to remember the appearance of its parents. When humans looked at dragons, they could only distinguish their colors. In the eyes of humans, dragons of the same color did not look any different. On the other hand, the little blue dragon could clearly see its parents' faces. It believed that if it saw its parents again, it would be able to recognize them at a glance. Under the protection of the two azure dragons, time passed very quickly. The saplings in the valley all grew into towering trees. One day, thick black clouds gathered in the sky, and there was a faint electric light. This kind of weather had happened countless times in the sky above the valley, but it was different this time. The two azure dragons flew below the thick clouds and attracted the lightning in the sky. They used their bodies to bear most of the lightning, and only a small part of the lightning struck the 12 dragon eggs. Fine cracks gradually appeared on the outer shells of the 12 dragon eggs, and it looked like they were about to hatch. However, at this critical moment, a huge black dragon suddenly appeared. With a sweep of its dragon whiskers, it hit the dragon egg. 11 of the 12 golden dragon eggs were destroyed at once. The baby dragon inside was smashed into pieces before it could even open its eyes. The remaining dragon egg was also affected. Blood seeped out from the cracks in the outer shell. The two azure dragons were incomparably angry and sad. They started a great battle with the black dragon in the thunderstorm. In the end, the powerful black dragon was chased away. The little blue dragon's parents landed with serious injuries. Looking at the 12 destroyed dragon eggs, they raised their heads and let out a mournful howl. After a short rest, they soared into the sky and disappeared into the thick black clouds, never to return. Obviously, in extreme anger, the little blue dragon's parents went to take revenge, and they never returned. If nothing unexpected happened, the little blue dragon would not have survived. It would not have met Yang Tian later and accompanied Yang Tian until now. A few days after the little blue dragon's parents left, a huge azure bird appeared in the sky. Under the sunlight, the golden dragon egg reflected golden light and was noticed by the azure bird. The dragon egg was brought into the nest made of beautiful feathers by the cyan bird. Before the dragon egg was brought back, there was another cyan bird egg in the nest. It was bigger than the dragon egg, and its shell was covered with patterns. It was very beautiful. From then on, the azure bird hatched its egg with the dragon egg. Because the azure bird was also a divine beast, it would take an extremely long time to hatch the little life in the egg. During this process, the shell of the dragon egg, which was originally broken, actually began to slowly heal, but its color became a little dimmer. The sun in the sky rose and set. After repeating this thousands of times, the azure bird egg finally cracked open, and a young bird crawled out from inside. And the mother azure bird, from then on, had another job. Not only did it have to hatch the dragon egg, but it also had to feed its own child. The azure bird gradually grew up and could fly. In this cruel world, life was fragile. Even the powerful azure bird would be preyed on by even more powerful creatures. After the mother azure bird went out once, she never returned. The azure bird, who had just learned to fly, began to live independently. It took over its mother's job. Other than going out to look for food, it stayed in the nest, trying to hatch the dragon egg. This went on for thousands of days and nights. Danger came again. A huge lizard beast climbed along the cliff to the vicinity of the azure bird's nest. It wanted to devour the dragon egg and started a great battle with the azure bird. This battle lasted for hundreds of days, and there was no clear winner. There were several times when the dragon egg was almost swept away by the lizard beast's long tongue. Finally, a black-robed old man appeared and killed the lizard beast. The azure bird became the black-robed old man's mount, and the dragon egg was put away by the black-robed old man. Time slowly passed on Earth. The sea turned into mulberry fields, and the mutated beasts became fewer and fewer. Humans became the masters of Earth, and human cities appeared everywhere. Human technology developed faster and faster. The viruses brought back from outer space caused the powerful mutated beasts that had disappeared to reappear. One day, A martial artist covered in wounds and covered in blood appeared in front of the black-robed old man. The black-robed old man left the dragon egg on a martial artist's path. When he saw the martial artist pick up the dragon egg, he smiled and turned to leave. Not long after, an azure bird appeared in front of the martial artist and brought him a beast core. With the beast core, the martial artist's realm rose rapidly. In just a few years, he rose to the 9th level. At this time, the black-robed old man appeared in front of the martial artist. Chapter 904. This martial artist who received help from the bluebird was undoubtedly Yang Tian's grandfather, Yang Song. Yang Tian thought that his grandfather was dead, but now he knew that things weren't that simple. However, his grandfather didn't appear in the image after that. What happened next was that the dragon egg fell into Yang Tian's hands. Yang Tian stopped the image in the glyph array because he still couldn't find out where the little blue dragon's parents went. After stopping the glyph array, Yang Tian activated it again. In the glyph array, the ancient scene of Earth appeared again. The image reached the moment when the little blue dragon's parents left. This time, the image followed the little blue dragon's parents. They flew past the clouds on Earth, into the universe, broke through space, and went to the dragon territory. This dragon territory was the dragon territory of the universe. Here, the two azure dragons turned into human form and returned to the azure dragon tribe through the teleportation glyph array. The dragon territory in the universe had never changed. In the image, a scene that Yang Tian and the little blue dragon were extremely familiar with appeared. After returning to the azure dragon tribe, the little blue dragon's parents only stayed in the azure dragon tribe's territory for a short while before going to the central great hall. At this point, the image stopped. The glyph array exploded with a bang. What was going on? At the crucial point, the glyph array that shouldn't have any accidents was actually destroyed. Fortunately, at least they knew that the little blue dragon's parents went to the central great hall. That was the dragon ancestor's territory. As long as they found the dragon ancestor, they should get an answer. If the dragon ancestor didn't cooperate, Yang Tian and the little blue dragon really didn't care about the lives of those black dragons. Although the dragon ancestor cut off the glyph array that led to Insect Island, it wasn't difficult for Yang Tian to go back. The strange program had already recorded the teleportation glyph array in the Azure Dragon Tribe's territory. As long as a teleportation glyph array was built on Insect Island, they would be able to return quickly. The strange program had already designed the return glyph array. Moreover, for the current Yang Tian, a simple array formation like a teleportation glyph array did not need to be made into a physical object. With a thought, Yang Tian released a powerful mental power. Under the control of Yang Tian's mind, his mental power formed runes one after another, which then formed a teleportation rune formation. There was no need to activate it with a beast core, because the talisman formation, which was formed by mental power, would be activated as soon as it was formed. A ball of blue light lit up in front of Yang Tian. At this time, as long as Yang Tian entered this ball of blue light, he would immediately return to the Green Dragon Tribe. Just as Yang Tian was about to step into the blue light, the teleportation array not far away suddenly lit up. Immediately after, two black figures rushed out of the blue light one after the other, with less than a second between them. The first to appear was a woman. She was a woman that Yang Tian was familiar with, Ting Ling. Behind her was Ancestor Dragon, who had fought with Yang Tian. This was great. There was no need for Yang Tian to go through the trouble. Ancestor Dragon appeared in front of him and the little blue dragon. As soon as Ting Ling appeared, she flashed behind Yang Tian. Yang Tian turned around and looked at this mysterious woman in surprise. Ting Ling stuck her tongue out at Yang Tian. She looked very cute. What a fickle woman. Yang Tian sighed in his heart. He turned around and looked at Ancestor Dragon, who was slowly walking over. If it was only Ting Ling, Ancestor Dragon was confident that he could take back the clan tablet from her. However, with Yang Tian here, seeing that Ting Ling hid behind Yang Tian and that Yang Tian did not do anything out of the ordinary, Ancestor Dragon knew that Ting Ling and Yang Tian must know each other. Perhaps they were very close. Return the clan tablet to me, and I can let you go. Otherwise, I will take you down with me, even if I have to risk my life. Don't think that I can't do anything to you just because you have an immortal body. Hee hee. After all, I don't have much time left. After glancing at Yang Tian, Ancestor Dragon stared into Ting Ling's eyes and said coldly. Ancestor Dragon definitely had the power to do so. As soon as Ancestor Dragon finished speaking, Ting Ling stepped forward and grabbed Yang Tian's arm. She put on a fearless expression and said with a smile, "Old dragon, I told you. I'm just borrowing the clan tablet. Once I'm done with it, I'll return it to you." Ancestor Dragon slammed the scepter in his hand on the ground and said, "I know what you're trying to do." Ting Ling cried out in surprise and smiled. "So, you know what I'm trying to do? Then tell me." The dragon ancestor looked at Yang Tian again and said calmly, "You want to find Zhongling, and Zhongling's mount is a red dragon. Using the Dragon Clan's clan tablet, you can find that red dragon, which is equivalent to finding Zhongling, old dragon. You're so smart." Ting Ling giggled and said, "I'm not looking for Zhongling because of a personal grudge. I'm looking for the complete galaxy map. My father had already organized the complete galaxy map. Unfortunately, it fell into Zhongling's hands." The complete galaxy map. Yang Tian narrowed his eyes. He did not expect that Zhaoji Lord had already organized the complete galaxy map. But when he thought about Zhaoji Lord's knowledge in runes, Yang Tian understood. Ancestor Dragon was about to speak when Yang Tian raised his hand and made Ancestor Dragon swallow his words. Yang Tian looked at Dragon Ancestor's somewhat uncomfortable expression and said indifferently, "I don't care about you and Ting Ling. I just want to know, where are the 2 azure dragons that went to the central hall back then?" 2 green dragons? Ancestor Dragon was confused. Yang Tian smiled coldly and said, "Although a very long time has already passed, to be able to go to your dragon ancestor's central hall, the pair of green dragon husband and wife, dragon ancestor, you should have a deep impression, right?" Hearing Yang Tian say so, Ancestor Dragon furrowed his brows and recalled. After a moment, a relieved expression appeared on Ancestor Dragon's face, and he said with a smile, "You're talking about that pair of green dragon husband and wife who went to find the Black Dragon Clan's enemy, right?" Yang Tian nodded his head. At this time, Yang Tian noticed the little blue dragon lying on the purple dragonflower apron's shoulders. He was nervous until his pair of front claws started trembling. Ancestor Dragon smiled and said, "This matter, there's nothing to hide. Although this old man was displeased with the Azure Dragon Clan, I didn't do anything to them. They begged this old man to use the clan's steel and found that black dragon. Then they left. So simple." Yang Tian narrowed his eyes slightly and looked at Ancestor Dragon's 2 eyes as he said with a cold smile. Ancestor Dragon smiled and said, "Why do you humans always think of things so complicated?" At that time, although this old man suppressed the Azure Dragon Clan, this old man also didn't do as he pleased in the Dragon Clan. At least on the surface, this old man has to be fair and just. Although that black dragon was my Black Dragon Clan, it violated my Dragon Clan's great taboo. Even this old man also couldn't tolerate it. "Where did that black dragon go?" Yang Tian asked again. Ancestor Dragon said, "The Divine Realm. My Dragon Clan is one of the noblest clans among the beast races. Those important figures always want us dragons to be their mounts or beast pets. That black dragon is the mount of a deity in the Divine Realm. If this old man's guess is right, that black dragon was also instigated by Master. That's why it did that kind of thing. Divine Realm. Divine Realm again." Yang Tian originally planned on going to the Divine Realm to find Qin Fei after helping the little blue dragon find its parents. He did not expect that wanting to help the little blue dragon find its parents, he also had to go to the Divine Realm. The Divine Realm, what kind of place was that? Along the way, some people yearned for the Divine Realm, thinking that it was the ultimate holy land for cultivators, the end of cultivation. But powerful beings like the giant god did not have the slightest respect for the Divine Realm. It was as if that was a place without any interest in life, or even a place to hide filth. Seeing that Yang Tian was silent, Ancestor Dragon looked at Ting Ling and said, Ting Ling, anyone can go to the divine realm except you. As for why, this old man can't say it either. If you don't want this world to fall into chaos, you don't have to listen to this old man's advice. After saying that, Ancestor Dragon's figure flashed and disappeared. As soon as Ancestor Dragon disappeared, Ting Ling, who was behind Yang Tian, suddenly cried out. What is it? Yang Tian asked. Ting Ling spread out its hands at Yang Tian and said pitifully, the clan monument was stolen by this old dragon. Yang Tian chuckled. He already told you where Zhongling is. He doesn't need that clan monument anymore. With that, Yang Tian turned around and looked at the purple dragon and said, go back and tell that old dragon that the position of the Ancestor Dragon belongs to Xiaolong. Chapter 905. The purple dragon and Huawei looked at the little blue dragon and dilly-dallied, not wanting to leave. From the looks of it, she already liked the little blue dragon very much. However, the little blue dragon, who had returned to Yang Tian's shoulder, let out a low roar at Huawei very heartlessly and turned his head away, ignoring Huawei. Only then did Huawei walk into the teleportation portal in tears. After Huawei's figure disappeared into the teleportation portal, the little blue dragon turned his head and stared blankly at the teleportation portal. At this moment, his eyes were filled with reluctance. Yang Tian patted the little blue dragon's head with a smile. Xiaolong, in the future, treat your female dragon better. I wonder what color the offspring of the azure dragon and the purple dragon will be. Cough. At this moment, Ting Ling coughed and said to Yang Tian, you let the dragon ancestor go. How are we going to go to the divine dominion? That old dragon definitely knows the way to go to the divine dominion. Yang Tian raised his hand and interrupted Ting Ling's words. Although I don't know, there's a woman who definitely knows. Who is it? Ting Ling asked curiously. Yang Tian narrowed his eyes and said calmly, Zi Chun Yu, a restless woman. As long as she enters the divine dominion, I can go there. When Yang Tian said that, the little blue dragon suddenly opened his eyes wide. The eyes with which he looked at Yang Tian were filled with gratitude. Only then did the little blue dragon understand that Yang Tian already had a way to go to the divine dominion. However, he did not say anything and accompanied him to find the dragon territory first. Yang Tian patted the little blue dragon's head and said with a smile, we're brothers. Don't look at me like that. Although I thought about it before, I just met the conditions to go to the divine dominion. When Yang Tian said this, the little blue dragon and Ting Ling were very confused. Yang Tian had no choice but to explain. First of all, I have the talisman formations on the clan steel. The information provided by the talisman formations gave me inspiration. Second, I have a new power. Third, and most importantly, I have a complete godhood. After Yang Tian finished his explanation, the little blue dragon finally understood. However, Ting Ling still didn't understand. It looked at Yang Tian and rebuked, I still don't understand. It won't be long before you understand. After saying that, Yang Tian began to prepare. First, Yang Tian took out a large pile of yellow bricks. These were the floor tiles that Yang Tian had dug out from the Yellow Island last time. The stone materials collected by the Great Extreme King were perfect to be used as the foundation of the formation. Although they were not the best, they were superior in quantity. After the purple dragon left, the task of melting the yellow bricks was left to the little blue dragon to do. In less than half an hour, a formation base with a diameter of 50 meters made of yellow bricks was completed. Yang Tian took out a talisman brush and quickly drew on the mirror-like yellow bricks. Seeing Yang Tian's smooth movements and the precision of each rune, as if they were printed out by a machine, Ting Ling couldn't help but sigh. Yang Tian, I've never seen anyone draw formations as fast as you. Even my father can't compare to you. In the face of Ting Ling's praise, Yang Tian only smiled and didn't reply. This wasn't Yang Tian's own ability. He was only able to do it with the help of the strange program. If it weren't for the existence of the strange program, he wouldn't have wanted others to know about it. The praise that the strange program should have received all went to Yang Tian. I really didn't expect to go to the Divine Dominion so soon. It's as if it's predestined. Yang Tian's hand did not stop as he continued to draw the runes at lightning speed. At this time, Yang Tian's words were spoken from the bottom of his heart. Previously, in order to find the little blue dragon's parents, the images that were displayed made Yang Tian vaguely feel that his beginnings seemed to have been arranged. For example, the sudden appearance of the black dragon and its act of destroying the dragon eggs was obviously to kill the little blue dragon. It didn't want the little blue dragon to appear. Why was it like this? Unless the black dragon's owner had predicted that the little blue dragon's appearance would create the powerful Yang Tian. Unfortunately, the black dragon thought that it had destroyed all 12 dragon eggs. It didn't expect the little blue dragon to survive with the help of the green bird. Also, Yang Tian's grandfather, Yang Song, obviously didn't die. With the help of the green bird, he even became a 9th grade warrior. On Earth, during those difficult days, a level 9 martial artist should have been very famous. However, in the history of warriors, only one low-grade warrior, Yang Song, had died. Is grandfather still alive now? If he's alive, where is he now? That mysterious black-robed old man was a realm protector. What is a realm protector? Once when I was about to die, that person showed me the images. What kind of people were those powerhouses? Shichun Yuyu was once the goddess of a superstar divinity temple. What exactly happened after she met He Luoyang? Also, the talisman master pursued immortality. With his ability, it was impossible for him to wait for so long. Was he waiting for me to appear? For some reason, these doubts in Yang Tian's heart popped out, causing his emotions to fluctuate violently. The expression on his face also changed constantly. If it wasn't for the action of inscribing the rune array under the control of a strange program, a portion of the rune array that had just been completed would have been destroyed. He would have to start from scratch. Yang Tian, what's wrong? Noticing the change in expression on Yang Tian's face, Ting Ling asked in a worried tone. Hearing Ting Ling's voice, Yang Tian came back to his senses. He smiled and said, "It's nothing. It's probably because I'm going to the divine realm." A lot of questions in my heart involuntarily surged out. After saying that, Yang Tian didn't say anything else. After more than an hour, Yang Tian carved the last rune and slowly put away the brush. This was the most complicated teleportation rune array that Yang Tian had ever made. To activate this teleportation rune array, it required a lot of energy. Yang Tian placed 12 beast cores into the rune array's groove at once and used the talisman brush to draw on the rune array. Rumble, the ground began to shake. The teleportation rune array gradually lit up with a blue light. Where are we going? Seeing the teleportation rune array lit up, Ting Ling asked curiously. Yang Tian put away the talisman brush and waved at the little blue dragon. He smiled and said, "To the Wei Kong warship." That's right. This teleportation rune array was connected to the teleportation rune array on the Wei Kong warship. Back then, it was Yang Tian who repaired the Wei Kong warship for Shichun Yuyu. Every rune array on the ship was in the database of the strange program. If Shichun Yuyu went to the divine realm with so many people, she would definitely drive the Wei Kong warship. As long as the Wei Kong warship was in the divine realm, Yang Tian could also use the teleportation rune array to go to the divine realm. Even if Shichun Yuyu didn't go to the divine realm, Yang Tian believed that the woman knew the way to go to the divine realm. The teleportation rune array in front of them lit up with a blue light. That meant that it was connected to the secret teleportation rune array on the Wei Kong warship. Let's go. After the little blue dragon jumped onto Yang Tian's shoulder, Yang Tian quickly said and stepped into the teleportation rune array. Ting Ling quickly followed. Sorry to say, this book is coming to an end. The new book is in preparation. That you're tuning in to the Warrior Lore YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.